In the last video, we built this React Native based AI trip planner application. And in this particular video, we are going to build an AI trip planner for the web with the help of React. Hey there and welcome back to Tugurji channel. Today, in this video, we are going to build a React based AI trip planner application completely from the scratch. This complete course is a beginner friendly. If you are new to the React or any of the tech stack, don't worry because we are going to build this application and learn everything from the basic. Let's walk through the application first and then we'll talk about all the tech stack which we are going to use to build this application. So if you see, we have this beautiful landing page and also you want to learn how to build this basic and simple but clean landing page as well. Here you have option to get started, and in order to build it, you just click on it and then you will land on this beautiful and clean and modern form where you need to fill the basic information in order to generate the trip. Let's select the destination. Now here, anything if you search like this, as soon as you type it, with the help of Google Play's autocomplete feature will fetch all the places from around the world. So you can select the place which you want, then you can add the number of days you want planned for your trip, let's say 2. Then you can select your budget, let's say moderate, and who do you want to plan to travel with your next adventure. You have a different option, let's say friends, and then click generate trip. Now if you did not sign in to our application, it will ask you to sign in first, and with the help of Google Auth, we added this Google Authentication. This is completely custom authentication, so we are not using any third-party authentication service provider. Now just select the account and then boom. Now if you see, as soon as we log into our application, you will see this toast message saying please wait, we are working on it. And then not only that, but here you will see the loading indicator as well. How cool it is, right? Now we'll wait for a few seconds to generate our trip from AI. Once the trip is generated, it will redirect you to the detailed view of the trip where you will see the trip information, the selection which you did in the previous form, along with the hotel recommendation. Depends on your choice, depends on your budget, because this is AI generated, right? And it will give you all the option. Now if you click on any of this option, it will redirect you for the booking on Google Map. How cool it is, right? So then you will see place to visit, depends on your number of day you plan to for this trip. Then for the dates as well, the recommendation dates, along with that one you will see all the information. And not only that, but it will also give you the pricing for the given event, whether it's a free or it's how much ticket price is for that one, right? Then you will see all of this information, also for the time and complete itinerary for your 2 days of trip, because that's what you selected, right? So if I go back, and here you will see the my trip option, just click on it and then you will see all the trips which you previously created. Now I created a lot of trips. Here you can see anytime if I click any of this trip, let's say Paris and France, and boom, it will open the trip for you. Okay, so all the trips which you created previously, here you will see all of them at any time. Okay, so to build this application, we are going to use an React. Okay, obviously this is a basic tech stack we are going to use, but along with that we are going to use a build tool to build this React application. Then, and most important, that we are going to use a Google Gemini API to build or to create our AI trip. Okay, so this is completely free. Whatever the content we are going to use in this code is free to use. Okay, next, for the styling and everything, we are going to use a popular Tailwind CSS library and also a Tailwind CSS base, a shared CN UI component library. Okay, and at the last, in order to store our data and everything, we are going to use a Firebase, which is Google based and is again completely free. And at the end of this particular course, you're gonna learn how to deploy this application on a cloud, so you can share with your friends and family with your own domain. So it will dedicate a domain for you, and then you can share this particular website with your friends and family. So guys, if you did not subscribe to my channel, please do subscribe and press like button, press notification bell icon so you will not miss any update from me. And without doing any further delay, let's begin to develop this AI trip planner with the help of React. Now, in order to create a React application, we are going to use a Vite. Vite is one of the best React build tool in the market, and it helps us to build our application much faster and in order to run your application much faster. It also provides a lot of different functionality, and if you are new to this one, don't worry because we're gonna create and learn this Vite step by step. So Vite is just a build tool, okay? So everything obviously we are going to written in React only. So go to this vitejs.dev and then click get started. Now inside here, if you see, we have different environment in which a framework in which you can create the your Vite application. And in order to create the Vite application, you just need to execute this particular command. So just copy this one and go to a folder where you want to create a project, open a terminal, add that folder and simply paste that particular code. Now here we are just creating the Vite application, and at latest use the latest version of the Vite. Now say yes to proceed, and then you need to give the project name. Here I will give AI travel planner, and then you need to select the framework. So if you see, you will see a different framework like vanilla, Vue, React, pre-React and so on. We are going to use React as our framework, so select the React. Here you can select the variant, whether you want to use TypeScript or you want to use a JavaScript. So we'll keep it simple and we'll use a JavaScript, and then boom, if you see, your project is created. Now go to the VS Code and open the folder. So in that folder you need to look for your newly created project, which is inside React app in my case, and this is the project which I just created. And if you see on the left hand side, all the folders and file, right? Before that, if you see inside the package.json, we have some dependency over here, okay, and some dev dependency. Obviously we need to install this first. So just go to the terminal and click new terminal. It will open the terminal inside your VS Code. Here just type npm I, or you can type npm install, okay? The npm I is a short form for the install, and then click enter. Now it will install all the dependency and dev dependency which is inside this package.json, and then it will create a new folder called node_module, see, like this, okay? Now let me talk about the folders and files. So inside the public folder, which used to store all our assets, images and etc. Then we have the source folder in which we are going to write all our code, okay? Inside that we have assets. Again, you can keep all your images inside this assets folder as well. Then we have app.css. So this CSS is applied to this app.jsx. That's the reason it's written inside this app.css. Then we have app.jsx, which is the default page created when we create this application. And if you see, we have some default code over here. Now once you run the application, you will get to know. Then we have index.css file. Inside this we have some CSS which is applied throughout the application. And then we have this main.jsx file. Now this is the file on which whenever your application started, this all your React application going to render in between this app component, and inside that we have this React street mode and everything. Then we have this index.html, which is the first page to run your application. Here if you see, we have this title and the script to run your application. If you observe over here, it's running or it's loading the source.main.jsx file, which is nothing but this particular file, okay? In through this, your React application getting rendered on the web browser. Then we have package.json file, which contain the name of the application, the version, the script to run and build the application, Along with that, the dependency which is required for this application and some dev dependencies. And with.config.js file is used to add the configuration related to the Vite application. Now inside the terminal, let me clear this one and just type npm run dev. Now as soon as you type it, you will see without taking much time or within a 400 millisecond, your application running on this particular port and the URL. Just click on this one, it will open in a browser, and boom, if you see, your application is now running. Let me bring this side by side. Now over here, let me bring this down. Now inside this app.jsx file, right, as I say, this is the default page which is running on the screen. Now if you see, if I remove this one and type something else, let's say subscribe to Tube Guruji. So you guys, if you did not subscribe to my channel, please do subscribe. And if I save it, as soon as I save it, you will see the change on the web browser immediately without refreshing the screen. This is how fast the Vite is. Okay. Also, it's very lightweight, so whenever you want to deploy your application, it will load within a millisecond only. Now obviously we don't want this line of code, so I will just remove everything from here. Okay, and just I will put h2 tag, will say welcome to Tube Guruji, and then save it. You will see the text welcome to Tube Guruji, but right now it is showing in the center. So let's bring this at the top left corner, so it's quite easy. Go to this app.css file, and first thing, if you see, we have this text aligned to be in the center. Just remove that one. Then you will remove this margin and padding as well. Also inside this index.css file, right, we have the body tag in which they mention the place item in center, display, and margin. I will remove everything from here, and now if you see, it is on the top left corner. Okay, so that's how you can just make sure it is in the top left corner, so that we can start developing from there. Now next we are going to install Tailwind CSS, which is the one of the best CSS based library, and it's very easy to style your application. And then we're gonna also use a one UI library. Now we are going to install the ShadCN, which is the Tailwind CSS based library. Now obviously we did not install the Tailwind CSS yet, but if you go to this ui.shadcn.com and just go to the documentation and then click the installation. Here you need to select the framework as a Vite, because we are working in a Vite application. And if you see, these are some of the steps which we need to follow. The first step is to create the project which we already created. The next is to add the Tailwind and its configuration. So from here only we can add it. So first thing, let's copy this npm command, so it will copy both the commands. Then go to the terminal, and I will add a new terminal because on other terminal our application is running, and paste these two commands. Then click enter. Now once this command is executed, it will create a two new file. The one is the tailwind.config.js file, and other which is the postcss.config.js file. Okay, now if you scroll down here, it's saying edit tsconfig.json file, but as we are working on JavaScript and not TypeScript, so basically I will create a new file inside this root directory, and I will rename as jsconfig.json. Okay, so make sure instead of ts you just need to add js.config.json. Inside this one I will paste this line of code as it is, like this, and then save it. Now if you scroll down a little bit, here we need to update the vite.config.ts file. So copy this command. Here you need to install this type node. I don't think so we need it, because mostly this is used for the TypeScript, so let's ignore for now, and just copy this line of code, and this one you need to add it inside your vite.config.js file. So here I will just paste it. I will replace the existing code and paste it here, and then save it. Next, if you scroll down, now this is the actual command to run or to install the ShadCN. So go to your terminal and then paste this command. So it will initialize the shared CN. Now it will ask you some of the question. The first, would you like to use TypeScript? So no, because we are not using TypeScript. Then here you can select the style as a default. Then you can select any base color. So I will select the neutral. Then where is your global.css file? So in this case, our global file is inside source/index.css. Okay, because this is our global CSS file which is applied throughout the application. Okay, so I think okay, that is correct. And if you see on the documentation also, you will see that same answer. Then would you like to use CSS variable? So it's up to you. I will say yes. Then are you using custom Tailwind prefix? Okay, so here you can say leave blank. If not, okay, we'll leave it blank. And where is your tailwind.config.located? So it's the same location, so I will keep as it is. Then you can configure the input alias for your component. I'm not sure, but you can click as it is. And then import alias utils, you can keep as it is. And are you using React server component? Say no. Okay, and write configuration to the JSON, say yes. And then it will add a couple of files inside your project. So once it is initialized, and if you see, it is successfully initialized. Now if I go over here, you will see the new file get added called component.json. Then inside this tailwind.config.js, you will see some of the theme color is getting added over here, like primary, secondary. Obviously you can change it anytime, and you can learn it how can you update it. Then inside your source folder, you will see a new folder get created called component and other, which is the lib folder. Inside that we have utils.js. Obviously we are not going to touch anytime, but inside the component folder, whenever you add any new shared CN component, it will get added inside this component folder. Now if you scroll down here, this is the example to add a button. Let's try it and let's add a new button. So this button is from the shared CN. Now once you install this button component, you will see inside this component we have the new folder called UI, and inside that we have this button.jsx, okay, which is added by the shared CN. Now anytime if you want to change this one, you can customize this button according to your requirements. Now if I go to this app.jsx file, and if I add a new button from this component/UI button, see, make sure to import it. Then you can add anything inside this. So I will say subscribe and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, and boom, if you see, we have this beautiful button. Now this button is from the shared CN. Now you can go to this component, and here you will find a bunch of different components. So let's say go to the button, and you will see this different type of button. Now this button has primary, secondary, destructive, and lot of other different options. And many of these components which we are going to use inside our application, and you want to learn it how can you use that one efficiently. Now we are going to implement the landing page, but before that we need to learn about the routing. Let's say we have the default route, okay, and if you open this particular URL, you will see this is the default route. We did not add any route like this, and on that one you will see this on the slash, means on the default route you will see the landing page. But if you want to create a trip, we should create a new route called /create trip, right? If I try to go over here, let's say create trip, if you see it, nothing is happening, right? And the page is still the same. So the question is, how can we add this routing functionality? That's where this React router DOM is very helpful. It's a very popular library used for the React. It's kind of official library only, but it's made by the Remix, and it's very easy to integrate. So go to this reactrouter.com and then click on this maybe let's say tutorial. Okay, if you scroll down little bit, this is the command in order to install the React router DOM. So copy this command and then go to your project inside your terminal and simply paste here. So it will install the React Router DOM, and if you see, it's installed now. Now let's go to this main.jsx, and that's where we're gonna keep all our routing configuration. Now if you scroll down a little bit, here you will see the example as well, that how to add the routing and all. Okay, but let's do it manually. So first thing, I will define constant router is equal to, here we have the create browser route from this React Router DOM. Inside this one, you can define all the paths for which you want to create a route. So in this case, let's say on the default route, it means on the slash, we want to navigate to the app page. Okay, so right now this app page is already there, that's why I just added here, and then save it. Now inside this React strict mode, here we'll add a router provider from the React Router DOM, and here we'll simply define or provide the router. So this router we will provide and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, you will see on the default route is showing the default page, right? But let's try to create a new page. So inside this source directory, I'm going to create a new directory or a new folder, and we can call it as a create trip. Okay, and inside this we'll create index.jsx file. Now I already have one VS Code extension called React ES7 React Redux React Native extension. Make sure to install this one, as well as make sure to install this Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This is helpful when you're writing the code. Now with this extension, if you want to add a default template, I will just type RFCE, which stand for React Functional Export Component, and boom, see. Okay, so just type RFC and enter. Now here I will just rename this to create trip and then save it. Now if I go back to our application, and if I want to go to this create dash trip and enter, we should create, or we should show the actual page, right? But right now if you see, it's showing the 404 not found, because we did not define this create trip route inside our browser router. So here you can add another path, and inside this we'll say create trip. Okay, now the element which you want to attach is create trip from this create trip index.jsx file. Okay, see, and then save it. Now if I go back, you will see the create trip is now showing on the screen. Currently it's showing only the text create trip, but because that's what it is inside this div. Okay, so that's how you can add the route. Now this is just a simple route, but later on in this course you're gonna learn a dynamic and the child route as well, and we can call it as a nested route. Okay, so you're gonna learn how to add the nested and as well as the dynamic route, so that you can implement more complex application. Let me talk about the tubegurji.com, where you will get my exclusive courses and the source code just under $7. Here, not only that, but even you can search all the exclusive source code. Even you can track each courses chapter by chapter. Okay, you can just get the access of source code, you can see the demo, or you can also watch on YouTube. But if you want to learn by chapter, you can use this tubegurji.com, and you can track your progress through your dashboard. Now if you want to join this membership, you will get it under $7, and then you will get all the source code for free. So guys, just join now this tubegurji.com, and this is a pro membership for the exclusive for my subscribers. Now we are going to make a landing page for our application, and this will be a very simple. You can customize it later on, but right now if you see, we have the header, and this header will be constant throughout the application. Okay, so on any page you will see this header, and then we have this hero section. So let's go back to our application, and the first thing inside under this component folder, I'm going to create a new folder, and we can call it as a custom. And inside this I'm going to add the new component called header.jsx. Add the default template and then save it. Now, as I told you, this header will be fixed throughout the application, right? We want that one. So inside this main.jsx, I will add this header over here like this. Okay. So if I go back to our application now, on the create trip also you will see this header, and even on the home page you will see this header. Then inside our inside our app.jsx, which will be our default landing screen, here we're gonna add the hero section. Okay, I will just type hero, and here we're gonna add the hero component as well. So under this custom component, we'll add that one, and we can call it as a hero.jsx. Add the default template and make sure to add this inside this app.jsx file. So you will see the header and the hero on the home screen. Now let's start implementing the header. So let's go to this header.jsx, and the first thing we need on the left hand side on the header is the logo. So you can use this logo express.tubegurji.com, and you can build your own logo. Or if you want the logo placeholder, you can even go to this logopism.com, and here you will find the SVG logo. Okay, you can just click on it, it will copy the SVG file, and then you can use it. So for example, let's say you want to use this particular logo. So I will copy this, then inside this public folder, create a logo.svg file and simply paste this code. Now you can just use it using this inside this image tag. So inside this image/source, just provide the logo.svg and end the tag. We did not provide the complete part because we automatically detect that you are trying to access the file from the public folder, and then it will look into the public folder with that particular file name. If I save this one and go back to our application, you will see the logo pism is showing on the screen. Perfect. Now for this div, I will add a class name. We'll add a padding. Maybe let's add padding of 2. Then we'll add a shadow small and then save it. After this image, we'll add a div tag. Inside that, I'm going to add a button. Let's say sign in button like this. Now let's bring everything in one line. So for this particular div, I will make it flex, and we'll make justify between, and I will make item to be in the center like this. Also, I will give a padding x to 5, something like this. Okay, so we have some distance. Here I will give padding of 3, little bit space. Perfect. And that's how our header is ready. Now even if I go to this create trip, you will see the header is still there. You don't need to add that component again inside your create trip page. Now let's implement the hero section. So let's go to this hero component, and inside here let's add the h2 tag. Let's add a h1 tag or h2, whatever. And then if you see, this is the text. I will just copy it and paste it here. If I save this one, you will see that text on the screen. Let's apply some styling. So here let's add a class name. We'll add a font extra bold. Then I will add a text size of, let's say we'll add a little bit more, like 60 pixel. So if you want to give a custom Tailwind CSS value, you have to define inside the brackets, and then you can provide the pixel size like this and save it, and boom. Then I will make this as a flex, item to be in the center. Okay, I will also add margin x-axis to 56, and we'll give gap of 9 and save it. Okay, for this particular h1, I will make it text to be in the center, something like this. Okay, and then I'm going to make this particular text in a different color. Okay, so I will simply wrap this inside the span tag until this point. Okay, and here I will add a break. Okay, let's not add break, and let's see how it looks. And for this span I will add a class name. We'll add a text color. Here I want to give my own custom color, so I will just write inside this bracket with the hex color code something like this and save it, and you will see that color. Perfect. Here we let's say 50 pixel. Perfect. And now let's give margin top. So here I will give not here, but let's for this h1 tag we'll give a margin top to let's say 16. Perfect. Then I will add some small text sub kind of tagline. So here we'll add a p tag. Inside that we'll add this subheading, and we'll add a class name. We'll add a text to be Excel. Text is of gray, let's say 500, and make sure text to be in the center. Okay, and this is how it looks, but make sure this is a flex column. Perfect. And below that we'll simply add a button. Inside this button I will just say get started, it's free. Okay, perfect, something like this. Now this is just a page, but below that, once we have the application ready, we can just add the screenshot of that one so that it will look complete landing page. Okay, but we need this landing page because on the click of this get started, we are going to navigate to the new page called create trip, on which user can enter a basic detail, and then we can generate the AI trip. Now once user click on this get started, we should navigate to the new screen called create trip. On this one, user has to fill a basic information like where he want to go, how many days that user are planning for the trip, the budget information, and who is traveling with. Depends on this information, we are going to pass this information to the AI model, and this will generate the trip for us. So first thing, on this click of this get started, let's navigate to the new screen. So let's go back to our application, and this is our button, right? So there is a couple of ways that you can navigate it. The one and simplest way is wrap this button inside this link tag, which is from the React router DOM. Then it has a two method, and I will just wrap this button inside the link tag, and then to this link you have to provide the path to which you want to go. So in this case we'll say create trip, because this is the route which we already mentioned inside our main.jsx file, right? It's under the route. So let's save this one and let's go back to our application. If I click get started, if you see, it jumped to the create trip. Perfect. Now let's go back to this create trip method. So if you see, we have this create trip. Inside that we have index.jsx file, and inside here we'll add a class name. Here we'll add a padding X when the screen size is small, so we'll add a padding X to 10. When the screen size is medium, we'll add a padding X to 32. On a large screen, we'll add padding X to 56, and for extra large we'll add padding X to 10. Okay, and in general we'll add just padding of 5 when the screen size is extra smaller, and I will give margin top to 10. Okay, so right now if I refresh the screen, nothing is showing because we did not have anything inside this div. After this I will add a h2 tag, and I will add this particular information. Let's say tell us your travel preference. So I will just copy this text so that I can use it here, and then after this I will add the information text like this. Okay, now for this h2 tag we'll add a class name, we'll add a font of bold, and text is of 3XL. For this p tag we'll add a class name, margin top to 3. Then we'll make the text is of gray color like 500 and text Excel. Okay, and if I go over here, you will see that information. Next, I will add div over here, and then we need to add some forms. So if you see, the first thing is to select the destination, right? And for this one, we need to add the Google place autocomplete so that user can enter some place information and then we can give a suggestion, right? So first thing, let's add a h2 tag over here, and for this h2 tag, okay, let's add div, and inside this div we'll add h2 tag, and inside this h2 tag we'll say the what is your destination. So what is destination of choice? Okay, let's save this one. For this h2 tag we'll add a class name, text is of Excel, margin y to 3, and then font medium, and save it, something like this. Also for this div I will add a class name, we'll give a margin top to 10, or let's give some more, let's say 20. Okay, some space, and from here we're gonna add that. Now in order to add the Google autocomplete feature, right, just search on Google, like Google autocomplete, or we'll say Google place autocomplete for the React, and then you will find this npm library, which is the React Google place autocomplete. Okay, to this library you just need to install first, and then you just need to use this component. To this component you need to provide the API key, that will learn it how to get that one. But before that, let's copy this npm command so that we can install it, and once it installed you can use it. So here after this h2 tag we simply add Google place autocomplete like this. To this Google place autocomplete you have to provide the API key. Now in order to get this API key, first let's go to this Google Cloud. Okay, and most important thing, right, the pricing for the Google place API is free. Okay, so if we search Google place API, and let's go to this documentation, go to this pricing, and then you will see we are getting a $200 of usage every month for no charge. So every month you will get $200 of credit, so that you can use up to $200, and for a small business this is sufficient. For a development, obviously that is more than enough. Okay, and you can even calculate how much you need it if you go beyond the free tier. Okay, so first thing, let's click on this get started. It will jump onto this Google Cloud console. Then once you jump over here, you have to go to this API and services. Inside this API services you will see keys and credentials. You will see I already have a lot of API key already generated, but in order to create a new API you can just click on this create credential and click on this API key. Okay, also you have to make sure you will enable some of the Google Cloud services like Place API. So click on this Place API, then you have to make sure you will enable it. In my case is already enabled. Then again search for the another API called geocoding. So if you see geocoding API or geolocation API, enable this both the API, and there is one more Place API new. Okay, so enable this API. If you want to know in detail, I already have the tutorial to generate the API key, and you learn how to create and all. Okay, now in my case I already have, so I will open it and you will see this API key. Now here, once your application is deployed, you can just restrict this API key to some website, and you can also restrict the key to the some API only. So in this case, if you see I enable this much key, make sure you can enable also for the JavaScript API. If you want to embed this Google Map, you can enable this one, and so on. Okay, now copy this API key, go back to your application, and over here just click on this new file and add .env.local file, in which we are going to store all our environment variable. And then here we have to start with the variable name like with underscore Google Map, or we'll say Google Place API key is equal to, and paste this key like this. Okay, let's save it. Now in order to use this API key inside your application, you have to add import dot meta dot environment dot and the name of the key, this one. Okay, so like this you can add it and then simply save it. Now if I go back to our application, you will see the new autocomplete input box. Here if you type something, you will see as soon as I type it, I'm getting suggestion, and this suggestion we are getting from the Google Place API. Now you can search any location. Okay, if you want to go to the Mumbai, say Mumbai. If you want to go to this Goa, you will see the Goa. Let's say you want to go to this Paris, you can select the Paris, and as soon as you select, it will show it on the screen. Okay, next to this Google Place API, it has a method called select props. Inside this select props, whatever value user select, that value you can save it in one state. So here we'll define one state called place, set place is equal to use state, and simply we'll set the place selected place value, comma, oops, let me bring this in one line, and then we can also select the on change method. So on this on change method, you can set the value like set place, and you can set the value of selected Google Place. Okay, let's save this one, and also along with that I will just console the value. So if I go to this inspect panel and click on the console, and if I type something, let's say Las Vegas, see we got the label. Inside the label we have the exact value. Under this we have the value with the place ID, reference ID, and many more things. Okay, obviously we need the label as well as we need this place ID later in this particular application. Okay, so that's how you can use the Google Place API in order to get the list of places whenever user type. Next, now if I go to our mockup, you will see our next is the how many days you want to plan, right? So it will accept the number. So let's go to this chat.cn component and search for this input component. We need this input, so I will copy this particular command in order to install this particular component, and simply let's add a new div. Inside the div I will just copy this existing s2 tag. Here I will copy this particular text, and then I will add input box like this. Now to this input box I will add a placeholder. Like let's say example, let's say 3 days you want to go, and I will provide the type as a number. Okay, so it will only accept the number. See, now if I try to enter some text, it will not allow, only number will allow. Perfect. Also we'll give some space between these two. So for this div I will make it flex, then we'll give we'll also add a flex column, and then we'll give gap of 9. Let's add 10, the round figure. Okay, perfect. Now we have how many days you are planning and everything. Next we have the budget information. Okay, we need to select the budget, and for this budget I already have this option created from my previous application, but let's create the constant folder under this source folder, and we can call it as a constants. Inside this we'll say options dot js, you can add jsx, and then paste this particular value. Okay, I will keep this information handy or free, so that you can just use this template. So this has a list of traveler, it has id, title, description, the icon which is just a emoji icon I use, and the number of people you can travel. Okay, and same with the budget option as well. So it's quite straightforward. Okay, you can create your own. Now I just exported this particular list so that we can use it throughout the application. Now let's go back inside here. I will add a div. Inside this div, let's add a h2 tag, and here let's add a text. Oh, what is your budget? Like this, and then we'll simply add a div. Inside this div I want to iterate the budget option. Okay, so I will copy this budget option, and I will just simply use select budget option, make sure to import it, then map. Here we need to iterate, so here we'll say item comma index, arrow function like this, and inside here we'll add a div. Now just provide the key as an index, so each item will act as a unique item. And inside this one, now let's define the h2 tag. The first we need to show the icon, so which is item dot icon. If I save this one and go back to our application, you will see this small icon showing on the screen. Don't worry, we gonna add more styling to this one. Then another h2 tag for the budget information. So here, or what type of budget, right? Here we'll say item dot title, and what else we have? Yeah, and another h2 tag for the description. Okay, and if you see on the screen, now everything is showing perfect. Now here for this div, let's add a class name. We'll add a padding of 4. We'll add a border. We'll make rounded large, and on hover we want to give a shadow large. Also for this div, we'll add a class name. We'll make it grid, then grid column 3, and we'll give gap of 5, margin top to 5, so it will be in the grid format. See, like this. For this h2 tag, let's add a text. Let's say 3xl. Let's see how it looks. I think let's increase little bit. Let's make it 4xl. For this title, I will make a font bold, and we'll make text large, something like this. See, and for this text I will just change, I will make it class name text smaller, and text color I will make it like gray 500. Oh, text gray 500, and save it. Let's see how it looks. I think that's pretty good. See, one more here. I will make this cursor pointer, so that whenever I hover on this one, you will see the cursor. Perfect. Next thing, we want to show the who is traveling. Okay, traveler option, and that also we already have inside this options file. So I will just copy this div. Let me format this component, and then let's copy this div as it is for the traveler information. So here I will just copy this. Who do you plan to traveling with on your next adventure? So this text I will try add it here. You can add whatever text you want. Okay. After this, instead of this budget option, if you see, we have this select travel list option. Make sure to import this one, and it also has an icon, it also has a title, and it also has the description. Okay, let's save this one and go back, and you will see that option over here. Perfect. See how beautifully it's looking. Okay, and the last, we just need a simple button. So over here, let's add a button, and we'll say generate trip. See, this button is showing on the screen. Obviously we'll use some margin and height. So here we'll let's add a div. So we'll add a div, and inside this div I will add this button. Then we'll add a margin top to, or we'll say margin y to 20. Okay, and not 20, but let's add a 10. And we want this on the right hand side. We'll say justify in, I don't know whether it's applicable, make it flex, and if you see, we have the at the right most side. Perfect. And this is how you can generate. Over here you can add more coloring kind of emoji icon. So just search on the emoji picker, or you can go to this Emojipedia. Here search for the some text, like let's say I search for the trip, but let's say here I search for the campaign. I think this is quite good, so I will use it over here. And along with that, I will also add a tree. Let me go back. This palm tree I will add. It's quite good, right? I don't know whether do we have any other tree. Let's see. But in meantime, I will add this palm tree near to this campaign. I think that's pretty good. Okay, and let's save it and go back to our application. You will see this beautiful emoji icon. Okay, and you don't need to use the images. Okay, you can use this emoji icon. That will be good, good enough to display this information. Now the last important thing we need to get is user selection. We have to make sure all the information is getting saved in one state so that we can use it. So over here I will use a constant. We'll say a form field, or we'll say form data comma set form data is equal to use state. Make sure it's empty by default. Then we'll define one method. We'll say handle input change. This method will take a name and the value. Now first thing first, now over here on the change of this Google Place autocomplete, I will remove this console, and inside here we'll add the handle input change method. Here the name, you can give the name whatever name you want. I will say location, and then we need to provide the value. I will keep as v. Okay, now over here we need arrow function like this. Over here we'll set the form field. Inside this form field we have to make sure the previous value will be there. So we'll say dot 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 form field. It means we are appending it. This is called a spread operator. Okay, and then we'll add a name and the value. Okay, so whatever the field name, that field name we are giving inside the brackets, and then the value. Now just for your understanding purpose, right, we'll use the use effect in order to display the form field. Whenever the form field get changed, this use effect will get execute. Okay, so we'll say form data. Oh, so this need to be a form data, not a form field. This need to be the same like this one. Okay, and here I will console the form data. If you don't know what is use effect, so use effect is a React hook used to execute whenever the component get load. So here you need to define the empty array when you want to execute only once when the component get load. or if you provide the value something like this, right? So whenever this value is changed, the use effect will get executed. Now let's save this one and let's test this out. So right now we just implemented for the place search. So go to the console and over here let's search for something, let's say Las Vegas. I will click it and boom, on the line number 20 in index.js you will see the inside the location field we have this information, and line number 20 is nothing but this one. Perfect. It means handle input change is working fine. Now same thing you have to do it for the remaining field. Let's say current field is this how many days. So over here we'll add on change. This on change has the event e. Then here we'll say handle input change. The name is, we can say, number of days, and the value will be e, which is event dot target dot value. Okay, so I will copy this and I will use it for the budget as well. So for the budget it's little bit different. Okay, so on the click of this budget, let's say on click, on the click method we'll set the, or set, but we'll use the handle input change, and to this handle input change we'll provide the value. So for example, let's say name is the budget and the value is nothing but the if you see here, right, value nothing but this title will say. Okay, so cheap, moderate and luxury. So here we'll say item dot title. Okay, same thing we can implement for the traveler who is traveling with. So here as well I will add on click event, and here we'll pass the name of the traveler, or you can pass this people information, because you can say 3 to 5 people is traveling or something like this, right? I think this is makes sense. So here I will add a people and save it. Okay, and that's all. Now let's add all of this information. Let's see for each of this field in the form field we are accepting it. So first let's say you are selecting New York, then you are selecting 3 days, and if you see, as soon as we type it we got this value. Then you can select the any of this budget, let's say moderate. See, the budget is moderate, and who is traveling, let's say couple. I think couple is not get over here. So okay, here we need to change the name. So here we'll say traveler. Okay, so yeah, that's the very important thing. Now let's say budget and the traveler. See, now all these 4 field information we are able to save it. Now one last important thing, on the click of this generate trip, obviously we'll print this out, but before that we have to make sure which this option gets selected, right? So for that one we can either use this form field value, okay, and then depends on that one we can change the style. So it's quite easy. So let me bring this down and let me wrap this class name inside the curly braces, because we are adding a conditional styling. Okay, so I will wrap this in a curly braces and then this tag. Let me remove this single quote. Here we can add a condition, and here we can add a form data dot, and what is this? It's a budget, right? So form data dot budget is equal to the item dot title. Okay, if it is matching, then I will just add the border, or we can say border, not border, but we can add a shadow large, or it's medium. Okay, let's add a large, because on hover we added large, and save it. If I go back and if you see, this one is selected, and that's why it's added like this. Okay, also I will add a border black. Perfect. See, if I select this moderate, see, it's selected moderate. If I select the luxury is selected. Same thing we're gonna add it for the traveling information, right? So first thing, when you want to add dynamic styling, wrap this class name inside the curly braces, then you have to use this single tag, and then inside this $sign you have to write the condition. So in this case we'll say form data dot traveler is equal to item dot people. If it matches, then you can add the same styling, same Tailwind CSS class, and save it. And if you see, we select the couple is showing. If I select the family will show. Okay, now one more important thing here, we want to make sure that user will enter the value which is, or when user enter more than value, like let's say 50 days, right? We will not allow the 50 days, we'll just allow maximum of let's say 5 days only. Okay, so that also we can add it. So here we can add a condition, if name is equal to let's say number of days, and okay, we can say and value is greater than 5, then we can just console it, or we return it. First we'll return nothing, and then we'll console it. We'll say please enter here what we can write, please enter trip days less than 5. Okay, so if I'll try to enter 9, you will see the please enter trip less than 9. So only thing we can do this, let's remove this from here, and on the click of this generate trip, on that one we can do that. So here we'll say constant on generate trip, and inside here we can write a condition, if form data dot number of days is greater than 5, then we can return nothing. Okay, and we can show the toast message over here, it's up to you. Also on generate trip, this particular method will connect to this button. So here we'll say on click, and simply we'll call this on generate trip method. Okay, here let's console the form data. Okay, now let's go back. Here everything is there, and if I click generate trip, you will see the information. Okay, so let's say here I type 8, right, number of days. If I try to enter it, nothing is happening, see, because this condition is valid and is returning nothing. But as soon as I type something like let's say 2 days, now I can able to console this information. Okay, perfect. Obviously there are a lot of things that we are going to implement in this course, but for now I hope you understand this particular section of the particular course, where getting the user's basic information is very important in order to generate the trip. Next we're gonna learn how can we generate this trip with the help of AI, with the help of this basic information. Now let's create the trip from the AI. So once you click on this generate trip, we are going to create we are going to write our own prompt. Okay, and in that one, whatever the form field which we get it from the user, that particular value we are going to add it into our prompt. I'm going to teach you how to write that one. Then this prompt we are going to pass it to the Google Gemini AI model, that also we are going to integrate in our application. And then the last, once the result is came out from the AI, we are going to save it inside our database. For that one we are going to use a Firebase database. Okay, very straightforward. So, and once we have the result in the Firebase, then we are going to display it on the screen later on. But for now, let's go back to our application, and then we have to make sure that user is fill all the details, okay, before clicking this generate trip. So let's go back to our application, and inside here if you see, we have this generate trip button, and on the click of on generate trip, we are calling this method. Okay, Now here obviously we are checking this particular condition, but along with that one, here we'll say form data dot, let's say location is there, and form data, or we can say or actually we need to check the opposite condition. If form data location is not there, and or we can write or form data dot budget is not there, or and the last is I think traveler, right? We'll say form data dot traveler is not there, so add exclamatory mark, something like this. Okay, then it will return nothing. Now obviously we need to show some kind of toast message. So for that one I'm going to a shared cn toast component. So we have this toast component where you can able to show the toast message, but it also have one more component called sonar, so it also act as a toast component. Okay, so we'll use that one. So just copy this npm command, then just paste it so that it will install, and then you have to use this toaster to your root layout. So in this case we'll use inside this main.jsx. Maybe we can use the after this header. Make sure to import this from this toaster sonar only. Okay, and then if you scroll down you can directly use it like this. So if I go to this index.js, let's put it here, and here we'll say please fill all details, and then save it. Okay, if I go back, let me refresh the screen. If I try to generate this one, right, I'm not sure why it's not showing. So inside the inspec is saying toast is not defined. Obviously make sure to import this toast from the sonar. Okay, and save it. Now let me clean this one, and if I try to enter it, if you will see it's showing the toast message saying please fill all the details. Okay, now once you fill all the detail, let's say you enter the place. Okay, you can enter this trip, then select the budget and the adventure who you want to traveler with, and then click trip, generate trip, and in this case you will see you did not receive any error, and boom, you will see the on index or on line 34 you have the result whatever you entered, right? Perfect. Now let me close all of this tab, and it's time to integrate the AI model. Okay, so I'm going to create one folder inside the source directory, and we can call it as a config, or you can call it as a service file. Inside this service file we are going to create a new file called AI model.jsx. Now inside this AI model we are going to add the code to generate the AI result and all, right? So for that one we are going to use Google's AI model called Gemini. So if you go to this ai.google.dev, you will see this landing page. Okay, and just click on this learn more about Gemini API, and you will jump on this Gemini API page where you can use the Gemini API page for a free. Now let's go to this pricing. Just wanted to show that it's completely free. Okay, so if you see the price is free of charge. Obviously we are going to use a Gemini 1.5 flash. Okay, but you have option as pay as you go. Okay, if you want to put this on a bigger level, right, then you can also pay for it, and it's quite cheap. But if you are okay to make a request 15 requests per minute, I think this is free of charge, is quite good for you. Now just click on this, try it now in Google AI Studio. It will open the AI Studio like this, where you can test your all the prompts and everything, and again it's a free. Okay, you don't need to pay anything. Now from here you can generate the API key, but before that let me show you how we want to write our prompt. So if you read over here, and obviously this prompt will be inside our source code, so you can access it. So here if you see, I just write the generate the travel plan for a location. I give the location name which we already have. For how many days? The 3 days. So days count also we have. For a couple for whom you want that one, and your budget. So all of this information we already have. So this particular things in particular line, in that one, whatever the information we want, we can put it. Then I just write the give me hotel option list with a hotel name, hotel address, price, hotel image URL, geo coordinates, rating, description, and suggest itinerary. So this is nothing but the daily plan for that particular day, with a place name, place details, place image URL, geo coding, ticket pricing, time to travel each of this location for a 3-day with each day plan, and all of blah blah blah, and lot of things, right? And here I will also add the rating, something like this, time, travel, each of this, and blah blah. Okay, but we have to make sure that you will get inside the JSON format. Okay, so you have to write in JSON format, and once you run this particular prompt inside your AI Studio, you will see this particular result. Okay, how cool it is, correct? Perfect. Now obviously this particular JSON we're gonna use inside our application to display the plan for the our user selected travel place and all. Now in order to integrate this AI Studio, if you see on the right hand side corner, you have the option called get code. Click on it, you will see the different options. Select the JavaScript, and here this is the sample code which you can use it. Now first thing, you need to install this generative AI. So copy this one, then go back to your application, and then inside the terminal just paste it here. So it will install the Google generative AI, and then simply copy all of this code and paste it here. Okay, so obviously we're gonna modify a little bit, but first thing first, obviously if you see, we need a Gemini API. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's go to this get API key. I will say okay here, and here obviously you can create a new API key. I already have, so I will use the existing one, and then simply let's put it inside this .env.local file. Here I will say with Google Gemini AI API key, and I will paste this key. Okay, let's save it. And in order to use it here, you just need to write import.meta.env and the name of the environment variable key. Now this API key is passes to this generative AI, and this is the reference of that one. This is the model name of the generative model, and here you will see the basic configuration. Now here we want the response in the form of JSON, right? So here you just need to change this application/JSON. This is very important, otherwise many people face issue while getting the result. Then we don't want this async function run, so I will remove that one. Okay, but we have to make sure this is export constant chart session. Okay, so that we can use this chart session. Let me remove these comments. Then we have history, the role with the part or whatever the text I entered, right? And then the response from that one. Now this is important because when you write you send your own prompt, right, it will try to give you the result in the same JSON format. Okay, because we already have the previous information, so that's the reason it is important. And then let me remove this one. We don't need this function. Also we don't need this line of code, okay, because we can use it inside our on button click of this generate trip, and then save it. Now we export this chart session so that we can use it throughout the application. Now I added this prompt inside our option.jsx, and if you see, we have this AI prompt. Everything is same, but whatever the value which we are going to add it our own from the form, that I wrap it inside this curly braces so that I can able to change it later on. Okay, that I will going to tell you how to do it, and make sure you can export this AI prompt. You will get it inside the source code as well. Now let's go to the create trip. Inside that we have index.jss, and on the generate trip we are going to make that call. Okay, so Let me remove this one. Now first thing, we are going to update our prompt. So here we'll say constant final prompt is equal to, okay, and now if you see, this is the AI prompt, so we'll just write AI prompt from this constant options, okay, then dot replace. So we'll use the replace method here. First thing, we need a location, so I will copy this one and we'll use location. The location in this case is from this fill option. So form data dot location dot, I think that's so label, I'm not sure the exact, not remember. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's see the console log. So if I select the place, let's say Las Vegas, so we got the location, inside that we have label. Okay, so that's what we want. So here we'll say label. Okay, so for this particular text, replace with the actual value. Okay, so that's how it works. Then we have replace again, and inside that we have the next total days. Okay, and then this total days will replace with this form data dot number of days. Then we have replace method again for the next thing, which is the traveler, which is form data dot traveler, oops, then dot replace, and the last is budget. Something like this. Okay, and there is one more. If you see in the last, we have the total days. Okay, so for this total days as well, I'm going to update it. Perfect. And let's console this final prompt. Just make sure that we are receiving all the information correctly, means we are replacing all the information correctly. Okay, now let's go back here. Let's select the choice. I will say for the 2 days, let's say budget cheap, and for a couple. Okay, now if I click on generate trip, you will see you got the trip, like location Las Vegas, number of days, how many people are there, the budget, and everything. How cool it is, right? Now this particular prompt we are going to pass to this AI model. So it's quite easy. Here you need to write constant result is equal to await chat session. Now this chat session you have to import from this service AI model. Okay, and then we will write send message, and then you have to pass this final prompt. Here we are using await, so make this method as a async. Okay, now from this one, from this result, we'll just console this result. So we'll say result dot response dot text. Okay, so we'll see what we are getting, and I think for now let's see the output. Let's save it, and then again I will click generate trip. Okay, now it will take couple of few seconds to generate the result. So we got this error saying the require is not defined inside this AI model. Okay, so if I go to this AI model, this required is the syntax, the way they write it, it's not supporting to this React week. So I will remove this one and simply import this Google generative AI, and like this. Okay, and then save it. Now if you see, we don't have any error for now, at least. So let's select the location, the planned day, couple, and everything, and then click generate trip. Now if you see, we have the prompt with which we console, and now we'll wait to get the result, and boom, if you see, we have the result with all the information like hotels and all of these things. I think we are not getting eternally yet. Okay, so we'll see why we did not receive that one. Oh, so we did not receive that because we mentioned the 0 days over here. So make sure it's a 2 days. Okay, and then try to generate the trip. And boom, if you see, we got the result. So in this one, we have the list of hotels. Then we have itinerary with the day, their plan, when it's going to start, the time span, the ticket price, time to travel, and lot of other things. How cool it is, right? So that's how we can generate the trip with the help of AI. Now the next thing we need to do is to save this information inside the Firebase, okay, so that we can store this and we can use it later on. Okay, so whenever user log into their account, right, then he can able to fetch that particular result as well. But until this point, if you have any question, any doubt, let me know in the comment section. Now we are going to touch a very important topic, which is the authentication. Now once user click on generate trip, before generating trip, we will make sure that user is authenticated to our application. So for that one, if you see, this is a workflow. When user click on this generate trip, our application will check if user is already authenticated or not. If he is not, then we'll redirect it to the Google authentication. And on the success of authentication, we are going to store the user's information on a local storage. And then we will generate our trip. Okay. If he's already authenticated, so you don't need to, and you can directly use the local storage information, means user information from the local storage to generate the trip. So for that one, in order to add a Google authentication, we are going to use a React Auth Google library. Okay, this is a npm library and it's quite easy to integrate. So let me walk through the step-by-step process. So first thing, let's go to this React Auth Google. I will keep the link in the description. Then copy this npm command and go to your project. Let me close all of this tab first, and then I will just paste it here. Okay, make sure it get installed. Second thing, if you see, if you scroll down, they also mention how to use this one. Okay, and the first thing we need to do is to generate the Google API client ID. Now this Google API client ID you can generate from this Google Cloud. Okay, it's very easy. First and very important thing, you need to set up this auth consent screen. Okay, that you are giving permission to access the user's basic information. You need to set this consent screen. In my case, it's already set up. So, but if you are new, then let's set up. It's quite easy and straightforward. Then go to this credentials, and inside the credential, you have to click on this create credential and make sure to create this auth client ID. Once you click it, it will automatically create the client ID for you. So in my case, if you see, I already have a lot of them. Let's go to this authentication, and if you see, I already have this client ID. Okay, so I will just copy this client ID and let's go back to our application. Inside this .env.local file, I will add with Google auth client ID is equal to, and then paste this client ID and save it. And then if you see, the second step is to configure the consent screen, which we already did. Then we have to wrap your application inside this Google Auth provider. Okay, but before that, if you see, the first point that we need to add this HTTP localhost and the HTTP localhost port to the authorized JavaScript origin box. Okay, because we are doing development, and make sure to add this on localhost. But once we deploy this to the production, we have to also add that particular URL. Okay, so if you go here and if you see, for me there are a lot of there, but I also added the current URL and the localhost like this. Same thing, you have to add it under this authorized redirect URL like this. Okay, so this URL obviously nothing but our application URL. Okay, next we need to wrap this one. So I will just copy this line of code. Then let's go to this main.jsx file. Okay, and before this header only, I will add it and make sure to wrap your application inside this like this. Okay, make sure to import this Google Auth provider. Now inside this client ID, we need to add or access that client ID. So we'll say import.meta.env, and from this environment local variable, I will copy it and simply I will paste it here. Okay, so that's how you can add this client ID and then save it. Next thing, you have a couple of options. You can even sign in with the Google. So this is a just simple way that you can sign in, or you have one tap sign in, or you can even sign in with your own button. Okay, so if you see, we have the custom button, and from there as well you can do sign in. Now in this case, we are going to use a custom button. Okay, so we will use our own button so that we can have full control on what we want to do. So now let's go to this create trip, and obviously on the click of generate trip, we want to sign in, right? So for that one, a couple of things we need to do. First, let me close all of this, and here we'll just make sure that user is already signed in or not. Okay, and also let's test do it here. So first I will check if get the local storage dot get item and user. Right now, this local storage user, if you want to see how it's stored and where it's stored, go to the inspect panel. Under this one we have application, and if you see under this local storage, we don't have the user field yet. Okay, so obviously it will return empty. So here we'll say constant user is equal to local storage get item user. Okay, then we'll check if user is not there. Okay, then we'll return nothing, but we need to open a dialog in order to log into the user. So here we'll say open dialog comma set open dialog is equal to use state. Okay, like this, and then here we'll just simply set open dialog as a true. Initially I will make this as a false and save it. Okay, now below this one I will add the dialog, so that is kind of pop-up message where we will show the Google sign in button. So for that one I'm going to set cn a dialog component. Okay, it's very straightforward. If you see, this is an example. If I click it, it will open this dialog. So similar kind of example we're gonna use. So first thing, you need to install, or you need to add this component. So copy this dependency URL, command, and simply paste it here, so it will get installed. And then this is the import statement that we need to add it. At the top I will add this import statement, and then this is the use case code that I'm going to use it over here. Okay, simple. Now obviously this is the dialog trigger which will open this dialog, but we don't want this one. We want to open the dialog on the click of this button, and depends on the condition. So I will remove this one, and for this dialog it has a method called open. Okay, and in that method you can just pass this open dialog, because on the click of this generate tree we will set the open dialog true and false, right? Next, we don't want dialog title. Let's save this one and let's test this out. So if I save it and click on this generate trip, you will see the dialog is opening. Okay, so that's how it works. Now obviously we'll change this content, and we'll simply add the basic content. Let's add the logo first. So here I will say image source / logo.svg, and if you see, the logo is showing on the screen. Then we'll add the h2 tag, and here we'll say sign in with Google, and I will add one more text. We'll say sign in to the app with Google Authentication securely. Okay, and for this h2 tag we'll add a class name. We'll make font bold, text large. Let's see how it looks, and also we'll give margin top to 7. Perfect. Okay, and below that we'll simply add the Google sign in button. So here we'll add a button. Here we'll say sign in with Google. Okay, here we'll add a variant as an outline. Okay, and save it. Now if you see, we have this variant. Okay, I think we don't need, I don't want the variant, I will keep as it is. Only thing, we'll make the width to be full, margin top to 5. Perfect. Okay, now for this sign in with Google, you can even add the icon. Now in order to add an icon, just go to this React icons. Okay, so this is very powerful library, and you will see a bunch of different icon. And in order to install it, right, so this is the command npm I react icons. So just paste it here, so it will install the React icon, and whatever icon you want to search it, let's say Google, right? So you will see a different type of Google option, right? Even though this, you can use this fcfc, just click on it and copy this import statement first, and then you have to copy this component name. So in this case, I want to add it inside this button like this and save it. And if I go back to our application and click on generate trip, you will see this button. Now let's give some style. So we'll say flex gap of 4, and we'll say align item to be in the center. Then here we'll say class name, height of 7, width of 7. Perfect. And see how beautiful it's looking, right? This is a simple model in order to sign in with the Google. Now next, once user click on this sign in with Google, we'll call one method. So here we'll say on click, here we'll say just login, and we'll define this method. So simply maybe we can define before this generate trip. So here we'll say constant login is equal to use Google login. Okay, so this particular hook we are going to use. Inside this, it will return two callback methods. One is on success, so this will add code. We can just write the response from it. So we'll console this code response, and if there is any error, it has a on error method. Okay, so this will also will console it as an error. Perfect. Okay, now let's test this out first, and let's see whether you are able to log in or not. And then if it's successful login, you will get some response. So let's go back and click on generate trip. So right now, obviously our application is checking is user is login or not. Obviously it's not, so it will showing this pop-up message. Then click on this sign in with Google, and boom, you will see you are getting option to select the sign in Gmail account, right? Now click one of them and see it's getting sign in. Now go to the inspect panel and just see whether you are getting the response or not, and boom, you got the access token, the expiration, and lot of other information. How cool it is, right? Now with the help of this access token, you need to get the user's information. Okay, and that's quite easy. So first and very important thing you need to do is to install npm I Axios. So Axios is the HTTP client, okay, to make an API call. So click on it, so it will install this Axios for you. Now here we gonna write one method, okay, and simply we'll call it as a constant get user profile. Okay, and inside that we'll say Axios dot get, and inside that we'll call one API, which is very straightforward. We'll say https://www.googleapis.com/auth2 version 1 /user info access underscore token is equal to, and then we need to provide the access token. Now if you see, we are already getting this access token. Okay, so this access token we need to provide. So whenever we got this success message, right, we are going to call this get user info with a token information. So here we'll say token info, and from this token info we'll get the access token like this. Okay, next we need to pass headers. Inside the headers we have authorization. As a bearer token, we pass a bearer token like this. So here we'll say dollar Again, we need to pass a token information. We'll say access token, token info dot access token, and then we'll say accept criteria as we'll say just application slash JSON. Okay, so we'll get the output in JSON format. Okay, and as this is a promise, we'll make a then call, we'll make a response like this, and we'll just console the response for now. Okay, now this get user profile we're gonna call whenever the login is successful. Okay, and then we'll pass this code response, which is the token information. So this need to be a token, just spelling mistake, perfect. And let's save this one and let's test this out. Now right now if you see nothing is happening, click generate trip, sign in with Google. I will click on it, and boom, if you see we got the data. Inside the data you will see the all the users information, users email, the family name, given name, the users profile picture as well. How cool it is, right? Perfect. Now this information we are going to store in a local storage. Quite easy, right? So here we'll just simply say local storage dot set item, and we'll save it as a user. But we have, as this is the JSON data, right? We need to convert into string when you want to store the information in a local storage, and simply we'll say response dot data like this. Okay, and once everything is successful, and then simply again we will call this on generate trip method. Okay, because everything is successful, we'll call this method, but make sure to close the dialog. So we'll set the open dialog as a false, so dialog will get closed and on generate trip method will get called. Okay, so let's save everything. Now let's go back to our application. Let me refresh everything. Now let's fill the information. So here we'll select, let's say Las Vegas, then we'll select 2 days trip, the budget is moderate, I'm trying with the couple, and then click generate trip. Now here we are not signed in yet, right? So click on sign in with Google, click the select the account, and then I think nothing is happened. Let's see what's the issue. So inside the console we have the response is not defined. Okay, so this need to be a RSP response. Okay, so that's the reason we got the error. Never mind, we'll try again. So we'll sign in with Google, select the account, and boom, if you see it get automatically it get dismissed, and now our method get called, and also we got the response from the AI. Okay, but also make sure that the user information is inside this local storage under this user. See, you got the user information as well, right? Now next time when you want to generate, it will not check it, it will just generate the trip for you because your information is already there, right? Perfect. So that's how, guys, our authentication is going to work. Before moving forward to the next section, I'm going to talk about this tubegurji.com, where you will find an exclusive source code and exclusive courses for the React and the React Native. Here you will find a different type of project. Not only that, but you can track each of the project chapter by chapter. You just need to enroll it, and boom, you are ready to go. You can track that each of this project, your progress, and many other things. In order to join it, this TubeGurji Pro membership, you can join it just less than $7 per month, and then you will get an exclusive all source code and the courses for free. Now let's move to our application. As you know that we implemented this authentication part, and we also generated the AI based trip for our application. Now it's time to save this information into the Firebase. Once it's saved to the Firebase, then we will show the AI trip on the UI or on the web page with all the details, with the place information and all of these things. But in order to integrate this Firebase, we need to configure the Firebase first. So Let's go to this firebase.google.com. The Firebase is the based on Google, means Google is maintaining this Firebase. It's their products, and most important thing, it's free to use. Firebase provide a lot of different features, like they provide app hosting. Recently they added this data connect where you can connect a PostgreSQL or MySQL database, but don't worry, we are going to use a free Firebase Firestore database. And most important thing, as I say, it's free to use. So if you don't have an account, create a new account and then go to the console. Here you can create a new project. You see I already have the couple of projects get created. Select the one once you create the project, okay, and over here you have option to add an app. Now if you see, I already have some of the application which created, okay, and as I say, I created this application, right, which is the AI travel planner application for the mobile, means for Android and iOS, okay, with the help of React Native. And for that one as well, I created or I use this Firebase Firestore database. So I'm going to use existing one, but if you want to create, just click on this add application, select the web, and then fill up this information. Okay, once you're done with this one, I will go to this setting, okay, and inside this project setting you also find this command to install the Firebase. So copy this command and simply go to your project, inside the terminal paste it, so it will install the Firebase into your application. Next you will see this line of code, okay. When you create this project or this application inside your project, you will find this code as well. So copy this one, then simply let me bring this down. Inside this service folder, okay, I'm going to create a new file and we can call it as a Firebase config.jsx and paste it here like this. Okay, now over here we don't want analytics, but for the app make sure to export it like this, okay, and then save it. Along with that we'll add export constant, we'll say db is equal to get firestore, okay. So here we also gonna import that one, so we'll say import get firestore from, here we say Firebase / firestore like this, okay. And this get firestore will use, make sure to provide this reference of this application and save it. Make sure to export this one so that we can use it throughout the application. Now we are inside this create trip, okay, and whenever the AI generated our trip, we have to make sure to import that or insert the data inside the Firestore, okay. Now once we set up this one, let's go to this Firebase Firestore database, okay. If it's not enabled, make sure to enable it, then go to this rules and make sure you can allow read and write operation, okay, so that you can able to read and write it inside your Firestore database. Now over here, if you see, I already have some of the collection created, and don't worry, just ignore this because this is the existing one, okay. But in order to add a new data, right, you can just search on the Google Firebase add document, because this is the collection, and in each collection you can add a multiple documents. This is nothing but a record. Now if I go to this add data to the cloud Firestore, this is the simple example that you will learn how to add the data. Now if you see, we already initialized this db reference along with this get Firestore, so you don't need to define it again. But in order to add a new document, this is a just simple example from where you can add the document, okay, and we will take a reference of this one. Now let's go back, let me close all of these tabs and let's go to this create trip inside this index.jsx where we have this option called on generate trip, right. Now if I go inside this on generate where we are adding all of this information, so either you can create a new method which help us to add data inside your database, or you can just write your code. So let's make it simple, and I will create a new method. We say constant save AI trip like this, okay, and obviously it will accept the trip data, or obviously I think we already have inside the field, right. Okay, so obviously we need this result. Okay, so I will say trip data. Now inside this save AI trip, we'll simply copy this line of code, okay, and we'll paste it here, and in a moment I will explain everything. So first thing, this use await, so let's make this method as asynchronized. Then set doc, so make sure to import this set doc from Firebase Firestore. Then obviously we also need to import this doc from Firebase Firestore, and this db reference we need to import from our Firebase config. If you remember, we already exported this. Now this is the collection name, okay. So if you go to this Firebase, you will see this collection name, right? This collection name you can give anything. If it's not there, it will create a new one. If it's already there, it will add a new document in that collection. So here we'll say AI trips, something like this. And here you can give the document name. Now document name need to be in the form of string, and second, it should be a unique. Okay, so what I will do, I will create a new constant. We'll say document id is equal to, and here we will simply add date dot now. Okay, and I will convert this into a string. So what it will do, it will write this timestamp, and it will convert that timestamp into a string, and obviously every time the timestamp will be a unique. Now this doc id, I will use it as a document id like this. Then whatever the data you want to save, you can add it here. So here we'll say user preference, okay, and or you can say user choice, or user selection. We'll say user selection, and then for the user selection I will simply write a form data. So whatever we have in the form, we'll add it inside this one. Then next thing, we want the trip information. So here we'll say trip data, and this trip data is nothing but the trip data which we are going to pass to this method. Okay, so that trip data information we are going to save. The second and most important, that the user's email id. Now in order to get the user's information, you can just simply get it from the local storage. So here we'll say local storage dot get item and the user, because when we log in, right, we also save the user's information, and make sure to convert this or parse it into a JSON. Okay, so let's save it and let me show you that. So if I go to our application, so one quick thing, okay, this is a get Firestore, and I mistakenly inserted get Firebase. So this need to be a get Firestore, okay, and not the Firebase. Now if I refresh the screen, okay, now if you see, the error is not there anymore. That's the reason the screen was showing blank. Now if I go to this application, and inside this local storage you will see the users, and inside that we have the information which is already stored when we log in it, right? And this is the email. Okay, you might have question why still showing sign in. Obviously we will update it later on because we already log in to the screen, right? But we will update it. Now this email id we need it. Okay, so that's the reason we got the information inside this user, and now in order to get the user email, we'll simply write user email, and we'll simply say user dot email, right? Make sure it's correct. Yeah, and I think that's the only thing we want. I will also say a document id as a doc id, just for in case we need it, and then save it. Okay, now this save AI trip I'm going to call inside this generate trip. So whenever we have the response from the AI, then that time we'll call this method, and inside this we need to pass the AI response, and it will accept it as a trip data. Okay, so and here I will remove the final prompt for now. And one more last important thing, I'm going to maintain the state, okay, loading state. So here we'll say loading comma set loading is equal to use state, and initially we'll make false. So whenever we make a call, or we click on this on generate trip, we'll set the loading, or we can set it here actually. So we'll set the loading as a true. Okay, and when everything is done, we'll set the loading as a false over here. But again, while saving the information, we'll set the loading as a true, and at the last we'll set the loading as a false, and then save it. Okay, now let's try everything together. So let me close this, let me refresh this once. And okay, I forgot one more thing. We defined the loading state, right? But here we can also disable the button, okay, when the loading is going on. So here we'll just add a disable when the loading is true, and here let me put this inside one tag. Okay, I don't know, this is not working as expected, but let's add. Oh, so you have to wrap like this. Okay, and here what I'm going to do, I will write if loading is true, then I'm going to show some kind of icon. Okay, otherwise so let's say I want to show text, for example. Okay, and otherwise I will show this sign in button. Okay, now here when there is a loading, right, we'll get some icons. So here we'll go react icons, we'll say loading. So if you see, we have a lot of different options, right? I will select this one, and first thing we need to copy this import statement, and then we'll copy this component for that button. Oh, I think I am wrong, because we need to import use for this generate trip, not here. Okay, so I will just remove this, and we want to add that loading indicator right over here, and so here I will remove this one. So here we'll simply add if loading is true, then we'll add this button, otherwise show this generate trip as a text. So I will put it here, as simple as that. And for this button I will add class name, we'll add a height of 7, width of 7, and most important, animate spin, so it will spin it. Okay, and I will also make this button as a disable. So here we'll make disable when the loading is true. Now let's save everything. Okay, I will just format this document, perfect, and save it. Now let's go back to our application and let's fill up the information. So here we'll say New York. So let's say New York. I will select 2 days, the budget will cheap, and just me, I'm traveling, right? And click on generate trip, and boom, if you see, the loading indicator is showing because it's generating a trip for us, right? Now we'll wait for a few seconds to generate the trip, and boom, if you see, now loading is completed. It means our data and all the method get called completely. Now let's go back to our database first, because if you see inside the console panel, if I go to the console, you will see we got the information from the AI, but make sure that is inserted inside the database. So let's refresh this Firebase database, and boom, if you see, the new collection get created called AI trips. Inside that we have documents with this unique ID, and inside that we have the ID field with the trip data. Not only that, but if I scroll down, we also have the we also have the trip information with this hotel information all, and then we have the user email, user selection information, which is again in the form of JSON. That's why it came like this. But yeah, that's all we have right now. One more important thing, you can also save this trip data in the form of JSON. Okay, it's up to you. So it's quite simple. We'll fix that issue. So over here, when we save the data, right, when inside a database, we'll just convert this, so JSON dot parse, and then we'll save it as a JSON format. Okay, let's try this one more time. So I will delete this particular even though you can delete the collection, because we only have one document. So I will delete it, and let's try it again. So I will keep the selection as it is. Let's do it for one day only, and we'll select the luxury. Okay, and let's generate the trip. Now if you say how cool the indicator is showing, that okay, your trip is generating, you can also show the toast message, or you can add more animation effect. Okay, obviously I'll at the end of this tutorial I'm going to tell you how to do it. Now if you see, our data is ready. Let's go back to our database. Let's refresh this screen, and you will see the new collection with the document, and boom, in this case now your data in the form of JSON, right? See, hotels, then you got the, I think, 3 hotels, then day 1 information, because we only select the trip for 1 day. Okay, that's why it's showing the trip information for a single day only, and in that we have all the information. How cool it is, right? So that's how, guys, you can store your information inside your database. Okay, now next important thing is, once the trip is generated, right, automatically we want to navigate to the new page. On that page we are going to show all the user information, right? So that's what we are going to see next. Not the user information, but the trip information, obviously. Okay, and obviously you're gonna learn how can we generate a dynamic route, so that every time with the unique ID, obviously we can use this unique ID in order to fetch the trip information, and then we can display it on the screen. So once we generate the trip from the AI and save it inside the database, we are going to redirect it to the new screen, and we can call it as a view trip. Okay, now to this view trip we are going to pass a very important ID, which is a trip ID. Okay, now this trip ID can be anything, like say you have something, a random number and anything, right? It means we need to generate the dynamic route. It means the view trip will be same, but every time the trip ID will be the different, but we need to show the same page, but depends on the ID we are going to fetch the data from the database. So if you see inside this AI trip, we have this document, and this is nothing but our trip ID, and on the basis of that one we are going to fetch the data. Now if I go over here, if you see, we have the page on which we are going to show a main image, the location name along with some information which user already selected, then the hotel recommendation along with the itinerary plan, means for day 1 what are the things you can visit, on day 2 what are the things you can visit, along with the all the details. Okay, but we have to make sure as soon as we save the data inside the database, we should redirect to the new page. So first thing, let me close all of this tab and then go to this main.jsx, where we are going to create a new route. Okay, but before that let's add a new route folder. So here we'll create a new route called view trip. Inside this view trip we need to create a dynamic route. So in order to create a dynamic route, you need to start with the folder name with a square bracket, and here you can give the ID like trip ID. Okay, and now inside this one we'll create index.jsx file. Now let's add a default template. Here we'll rename this to view trip and save it. Okay, now let's go to this main.jsx and add this newly created dynamic route. So in order to add a dynamic route, this is very important, right? Okay, watch carefully. So here we'll say view trip slash, and then we have to give the colon trip ID. Okay, when you give the colon, it means we are passing any value to this trip ID. Okay, and the last we need to attach the element which is the view trip like this. Okay, save it, make sure to import this view trip. And now if I go back to our application and if I go to this view trip slash some random ID which is a trip ID and enter it, you will see the text view trip is showing. Now you can put any text like this, right, and then it will show you the view trip page. But if I go to this view trip, you will see no page found, because on the view trip we don't have a page. So only on the trip when we pass the trip ID, then only we'll get that particular page. Now inside this create trip, right, when we save this data inside the database, okay, after this set doc, we will just simply redirect it to the new screen, right? And obviously from here if you see, we already have this doc ID. So first thing, in order to navigate programmatically, you need to define the router. So here we'll say use route. This needs to be a router, I don't know. So it has a method use navigation I think, and then I think this need to be a use navigation, okay, not a navigation. And then once you save this information right after this setting doc to the Firebase, here we'll just simply say navigate, or I don't know what we gave. Let me check the name what we gave over here. So this we'll give the navigate, okay, so it will be easy for us. And here we'll say navigate, and then you need to give the path. So in this case the path will be or you can give path like this, okay, it's up to you, but let's give the path directly and let's see whether it's working or not. So here we'll say view trip slash and the document ID, okay, because we already have this document ID mentioned over here. Let's save this one. Now in order to test this one, let's go to the create trip, and then we'll create a trip. Let's say North Carolina. We'll have 2 days, moderate, couple, and then we'll click generate trip. And as soon as we generate the AI trip and the data is saved inside our database, it should redirect it to the view trip page, okay. So we'll wait, and boom, if you see, it's navigate to this view trip along with the ID. Now this ID is nothing but our Firebase document. See, the last is 177, that's what it is, right? Now with the help of this ID, we are going to fetch data. The question is, from this trip ID, how to fetch this trip inside the view trip, how to fetch the trip ID. It's quite simple. Here you just need to write constant, destructurize the parameter which is the trip ID, make sure it's the same name that what we gave over here, is equal to use params, okay, from the React router. And now if I write the trip ID over here, let's say trip ID, and save it, you will see the ID is now printing on the screen, okay. So that's how you can get the trip ID from the URL. Now let me clean all of this thing, okay. Let's do one thing first. Let's fetch the document, okay, because with the depends on the ID, okay, we have to fetch the trip information from the Firebase. So here we'll say get trip data. So this method will help us to fetch data. Now inside this we need to write document reference is equal to doc. Make sure to import this from the Firebase Firestore. Then to this doc we need to pass DB reference, then the collection name, so in this case is AI trips, comma, and the trip ID, which is nothing but the document ID, like this, okay. Now we'll get the document snap is equal to await get doc, okay. We are fetching single docs, that's why we get doc, and then we have to pass document reference. As this is await, let's make this as async. Now all of this code, and you will get it from the Firebase documentation. You just need to search how to fetch document, or you can go to this documentation, and here you will find a different option. See, read data and get the data, and that's how you can refer to this particular code. Next, here we'll say if document snap dot exist, if it is exist, then we'll just console the log, okay. We'll see whether we are getting a document or not. So here we'll write inside the console as a document, we'll say doc snap dot data, else we'll console log, will say no such document, okay. And also along with this one, I don't know, I think we can use toast as well. Here we'll say no trip found, okay. And now this get trip data we need to call inside the use effect. So whenever this component get rendered, okay, when this component get or this particular page get execute, we are going to call this get trip data, okay. Make sure whenever the trip ID is present, we'll call this method. So here I will pass this condition. Whenever the trip data is there, make sure to execute this use effect and only execute this get trip data or call this get trip data when the trip ID is available. Okay, here we write use to get trip information from Firebase, because we already save it, right? Now I think we are good to go. Let's save it and let's test this out. So if I go over here and go to the inspect panel, because it's already executed, and here you will see the document object with the ID, the trip data, user email and the user selection. How cool it is, right? Perfect. Now this information we need to store in one state. So here we will define the state called trip comma set trip is equal to use state. Okay, and then simply over here we'll set the trip as a docsnap dot data and save it. Okay, now inside this particular page we are going to show a couple of we are going to create a couple of different components to render the element. The first is information section, which contain the basic information, the image. Okay, then we are going to show hotels, recommended hotel, so recommended hotels, and the last we are going to show the itinerary. Okay, so daily plan we can say, and the last if you need we can add a footer not recommended. Okay, so for all of this we are going to create a component, but let's do one by one. So inside this view trip we are going to create a new folder called components, and inside this component I'm going to create a new file or new component called information section, or we'll say information, I don't know whether we call info section .jsx. Okay, add a default template to this one and make sure it will accept the trip information like this. Okay, so obviously from this we have to pass the trip information. So here we'll say make sure to import this info section component first, and then to this info section component we'll pass the trip data and then save it. Save. Okay, now first thing we are going to display image, and for that one I already have this placeholder.jpg file. Okay, now here is thing, and this is very important. Okay, right now whatever the image which we are going to show in this chapter, we are going to replace that with the placeholder for now. Later on we are going to replace with the actual image from the Google API's photo API. Okay, so from that one we are going to fetch actual image, but for now we are just showing the placeholder. So here first thing we'll add the image source slash placeholder.jpg, and let's save it. Let's see whether it's displaying on the screen or not, and if you see it's displaying on the screen. It's quite big, right? So here I will add a class name, we'll add a height of 300 pixel, and we'll add a width to be full. We'll make object cover and rounded as Excel, something like this. Okay, but to this trip document where we are going to add this all the components, here I'm going to add a class name, and inside this one I'm going to give some padding. So let's add padding of 10. When the screen size is small, medium, we'll add padding X to 20. On the large screen we'll add padding X to 44, and on extra large screen we'll add padding X to 56. Okay, and then this is how it will look like. Perfect. Then let's go to the info section. Here you can change this to 340 little bit. Yeah, next I will add a div. Inside this div we are going to show the hotel basic information. Sorry, not hotel, but the place information. Okay, so here we'll inside this div we'll add a h2 tag, and then in order to get the location name, okay, let me go to show you. So inside the inspect panel, inside the console, right, we have the location information under this user selection. Under that we have location, and under that we have the label. So same way we will fetch it. So first the trip, then user selection, inside that we have location, inside that we have the label. So this need to be a label. And if I go, if you see, the label is showing now as a North Carolina, USA. Okay, now let's add some style. So we'll add a class name, we'll add font bold and text to Excel. Perfect. For this div we'll add a class name, margin y to 5, and we'll make this flex column, and also we'll add a gap of 2. So whatever element we add, it has some that particular space. Then I will add a div, inside that we'll add a h2 tag in order to show the basic information like number of days user is traveling and all. Okay, so here we'll say trip dot user selection dot number of days. Okay, if you see, we have this number of days already inside the response, and here we'll say day. Let's save it, and if you see, it's showing on the screen. Obviously we'll style this one, so here we'll add a class name, and inside that we'll add a padding of 1, padding x to 3, we'll add background gray to 200 and rounded full. Okay, also we'll add a text gray 500, something like this. See, okay, that's look good to me. Let's make a text smaller. Let's keep as it is. Now I will add this couple of times, okay, because we want to show a more information. So first thing, we add number of days, then we'll add a budget, and here we'll say budget, and the last we need to add number of travelers. So here I will add like this, number of traveler, and here we'll say traveler. Let's save it and let's see if it's printing. See, now let's bring in everything in one line. So for this div we'll add a class name, we'll make it flex, and then we'll give gap of 5 and save it. See how cool it is looking, right? Perfect. Here I will add some kind of emoji icons. Okay, so let's do emoji pick from the Google, and here let's search for the date. Okay, now it will get the calendar. That's what we wanted. So I will just copy this one, or you can use any of them. Okay, it's up to you. And then here I will paste it. So let's see how it looks first. See, okay, same for budget. I will search for some kind of money as a text, and if you see, we have this money back, we'll use that one. And then for the number of travelers, so here I will use why, so it's kind of couple kind of thing, right? So this one I will use it. You can use anything you want. Okay, and save it. Now if I go back to our application, you will see, perfect, how cool, right? So that's how this is just a basic information that we show. On the right hand side, we can also show a share button so that you can share this with your friends and family. So for that one, first thing, you need to wrap this div inside another div like this. Okay, and then here I will add a button from the chat CN, and inside this button we're gonna add the share button. Okay, sure, icon we want to add. So here just search for the React icons. Here you can search for the, let's say, send or share. I will use this one. Okay, so first thing, you need to import this because we already installed this library, right? You don't need to install it again. And then this particular icon inside this button, and then save it. Now if I go back, you will see this button over here. Let's bring this button in one line. So here I will mark it as a flex, then justify between, and make sure item to be in center, so it will come vertically align. Okay, and if I do the smaller screen, right, see, this is how it looks. Obviously on smaller screen, if you see, this is not look good. So simply for this text, you can also mention, if the screen size is smaller, you can do text excess and when it's medium or larger, you can make text medium. So copy this everywhere and save it. Okay, so if you see, now it's look good, and on the bigger screen it's supposed to be text to be medium, or you can make text large. Okay, now it's look good. Now let's go back over here, and this is the section that we just completed, which is the info section. Okay, obviously the image we will replace it once we have all the information or data which we want to show. Now next we are going to display the hotel list. So we already have the hotel list in our response, so we will just show that on the screen. And under this itinerary, right, not itinerary, but under this hotels, you will see the list of hotels. So let's go back to our application inside the VS Code, and we'll create a new component under this component folder, and we will name it as a hotels.jsx. Add the default template, and here we'll accept the trip information and then save it. Now let's go to this index.jsx, and here we'll just import the hotel component. Now if I go back to our application, you will see the text hotels. Now let's make sure over here that we'll send the trip data to the hotel component, and inside this hotels, now let me bring this down. Here we'll say hotel recommendation. So here I will change the font to bold. We'll change the text to Excel, and we'll give margin top to 5. Let's see how it looks. See, perfect. Now below that we'll show the hotel recommendation list. So for that one, I'm going to add a div, and inside this we'll iterate the hotel list. Okay, so that's how we are going to iterate. Here we'll say hotels map, then item comma index, like this, and the arrow function. Now if you carefully observe, under the trip data, right, we have the hotels, and then we have the list of hotels. So this need to be like trip data and then hotels. Now let's add a div. Under this one we are going to add an image. For now I'm going to add a placeholder, later on we can replace it. So here we'll add placeholder.jpg from the local storage, and let's save this one. Here let's add a class name, and we'll make the corner of the images as a rounded large. Now let's go back to our application, and then you will see all the images. Okay, let's make it Excel. Now what we are going to do, we are going to show all of this in the form of grid. So for this div we'll add a class name as a grid, and then we'll make a grid column 2. Now this grid column 2 we will only show it when the screen size is smaller. For the medium screen size we'll show grid column 3, and for larger we'll show grid column 4. Okay, let's save this one and let's see how it looks. So if you see on large screen, I'm able to see a grid column 4, but as soon as I decrease the size to the medium, right, you will see now it's showing 3, and if I decrease more, you will see it's 2 now. Okay, so that's how it gonna change. So that's the reason I mentioned over here that depends on the screen size, it automatically change the number of columns. So instead of large, I will make it on a Excel only. Okay, not on large. Now in order to give gap between these two, I will just mention here as a gap of, let's say, 5. See, perfect. So that's all for there. Now let's bring this down. Under this image I will add one div tag. Inside here we'll write h2 tag, and first thing we're going to add the hotel name. Here instead of item we'll say hotel. Okay, so it's easy to understand. So hotel, we'll say hotel dot hotel name. Make sure it's coming. See, Perfect. For this div, I will add a class name margin y to 3. Perfect. Let's add 2. And then for this h2 tag, we'll add a class name. We'll make font medium, and then text we'll keep as it is. Let's see how it looks. I think that's look pretty good. Another h2 tag, I will add it for the address. So here we'll say hotel address, and for this one I will make the text size as a XS and text is of gray color. Let's say 500. Okay, so this will be the address. Now for this one I'm going to use the emoji icon, this location pin icon. Okay, so we can use before this one just to give a visual representation. Okay, something like this. See, next we are going to show pricing. So here we'll add a h2, or we can, yeah, we'll add h2, and here we'll simply add hotel dot price. Okay, now make sure the field name is correct. So if you go to this hotel, under this each of hotel, we also have description. If you want to add description, you can add, right? And along with that we have price and rating, so that one we are going to add. So here we add pricing. Here we'll add a class name, and we'll make text to be smaller. Let's go back to our application. See, perfect. Here we'll make flex and flex column, so that we can give some gap between all of these elements, right? Some spacing. See, now I think it's look good to me. Here as well I'm going to add emoji. So here we'll add a money icon or some cashback. We can add it. That's pretty good. So before this one, and the last, let me copy the same. Here we are going to add a rating. So here we'll add as a rating. Make sure we'll make it as an optional field, so even though field is not there, we'll not get any error. Okay, and here for the rating I will use a star, something like this. And save it. Now if I go back to our application, over here you will see all of this information, and everything looks so good, right? Now obviously this is completely responsive. Even though if I change the screen size, right, you will see the change. Perfect, right? So whether it's a 4-star hotel or 5-star hotel, you will get all the rating information over here. Okay, also on a hover, right, I want to add some kind of effect. So over here we'll add a class name, and we'll add a hover effect. We'll just scale the size to, let's say, 110. Then we have to make the transition smooth transition, right? So here we'll say transition all, and save it. If I hover on this one, see, it's hovering so smoothly. We'll just make it 0.5 and save it. Here I will make it cursor pointer. See, perfect. Okay, so that's how you can add that one as well. Now on the click of this one, we just want to navigate to the Google map. Okay, because on the click on that, we can just show the direction on the Google map, or we can just open the link with the Google with this particular information. Okay, so user can see all the information. Now in order to jump it to the new screen, right, with the on a Google map, it's quite easy. So if you go to this Google map documentation, okay, I just found it. So here this is the sample URL that you can use it. So you just need to pass the query, and that's all. So if I copy this until this point, okay, and then on the click of this one, we want to jump it, right? So you just wrap this complete div inside this link tag. Inside that you have to provide the 2. So it's kind of a tag inside the HTML where we provide the hrefs. So in this case we have link tag, and inside 2 we have to provide that URL. Then close this tag and then wrap it here. Now inside this query you can pass the hotel name along with the address. Okay, so here we can pass the hotel address as well. So let's try to pass only hotel address. like this. Okay, and that's all, and save it. Also, if you want to open this in a new window instead of opening in existing window, you can add the target underscore blank, so it will open on a new window when you click on this particular item. So if I open this Carolina in historic hotel and click on it, see, it open new window, okay, with all the information. Now again, if you want to pass the hotel name, let's pass the hotel name as well. Okay, like this we can pass it, and let's see whether we are getting the exact result or not. So for example, we'll try this one, and if you see the perfect one, right, where you can have option to book it as well. So let's, if I open this Graham Bohemian Hotel Asheville, and it will open the Graham Bohemian Hotel Asheville. How cool, right? So that's how you can open the hotels on a Google map. Now we are going to display the daily plans. Okay, means for day one, what are the places that user can visit, so that information which we are going to display now. So if you see inside this where is this itinerary, right, here we have the daily plan for day one and the plan information. Okay, and along with we also have the time, so that's nice actually. And yeah, we can show the time as well. So let's go back to our application, and here under the component we'll create a new component, and we can call it as a daily, or we'll say places to visit .jsx. Add the default template, and then under this index.jss, under this daily plan, we'll add that places to visit component. Make sure to send this trip information as a trip, and then save it. Now let's go to this place to visit. Make sure to accept this trip as a prop, and here I'm going to add h2 tag. Here we'll say places to visit, and add a style, not style, the TailwindCSS classes. So here we'll say font bold, text large. Let's see how it looks on the screen. See, places to visit. And after this one, we'll add a div. Under this div, we'll iterate this trip data dot, and let's say what is the field name. So under the trip data we have the itinerary. Okay, so we'll say itinerary, maybe, I'm not sure the spelling. So and then itinerary, and then we have the list. I think that's what we needed. Okay, so here we'll say dot map, and here we'll say item comma index, like this. Okay, but if you observe, now we have the day one, and under the plan we again have the list. Okay, so that is we need to capture very carefully. So first thing, here I will add a div, then here we'll say the h2 tag, and we'll say day one. Okay, so this will be the item dot day, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, item dot day. Okay, so it will display the day one. Here I will add a class name. We'll make font bold, text we'll say large, and we'll see how it looks. So if you go back to our application, you will see day one and day two. Cool, right? Here I will just make it as a medium. Perfect. After this, again we need to iterate for the places. If you see, we have the plan. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll again add the item dot plan dot map. Here we'll say plan comma index, like this. Okay, or we can say place actually instead of plan. Here we'll say place, and now here we'll just display div. Now let's make sure that it's working. So what I will do, I will add h2 tag with the place name. Okay, so if you see, we have this place name. So place dot place name we can write, place name. Let's save this one and make sure it is getting rendered on the screen. So if you see, for day 1 we are going to this much place, for day 2 we are going to this much place. Okay, perfect. So now under this div, right, first thing we are going to display is the time, which is the good time to travel, right? So here we'll say time. So what we can do here, we'll add a h2 tag and we'll say place dot time. Okay, now for this one let's add a class name, and here we'll say font medium, text smaller, but I'm going to add some different color. Okay, so let's add kind of orangish and save it. Now if I go back to our application, you will see this is the best time to travel. Okay, so that's how we are going to show. Perfect. So right now after this, right, we are going to show image, not image, but let's add a div. It's better to add a div, and inside the div, let me remove this h2 tag for now. Okay, this hotel name, and actually we can create the component for this one. Okay, so let me remove this, let's save it, and we'll create another component. We'll call it as a place card item.jsx. Okay, so and for each in place information we'll pass to this one. Okay, because if you see it's getting bigger in size, so that's why. And here I will say place card item, and to this place card item I'm going to send the place information. This need to be a small p, and save it. Now again if you see right now just showing place card item. Now if I go to this one, first thing we want the image, we'll add the placeholder for now. So here we'll say placeholder dot jpg, make sure it's slash like this. Now here we need to give a class name. We'll say width of, let's say 100, height of 100, and we'll make rounded XL. Let's see how it looks on the screen. So that's look quite bigger. Oh, so here need to be 100 pixels because I'm giving the size in a custom pixel size. So that's the reason I'm writing inside this square bracket like this. See, you can increase little bit. Let's make it 130 for now, and save it. Perfect. Okay, after this one, before moving forward, I will just add a class name. We'll add margin y to 3. So we'll give some space between each of this item, and for this div I'm going to add a shadow. Let's add a shadow medium. Let's see how it looks, and then or just we can add a border as well. We'll make border XL, and we'll add a padding of 5. Padding 5 is too much, right? Maybe padding 3. I think that's good enough. If you want to remove border, we can remove it later on. And here just for the sake, we'll add a margin top to 5. I think margin top to 5 is too much. Let's make it 2. Okay, next after this image we'll add a div tag, and obviously we are going to write content on the right side of this image. So over here we're gonna write that one. So here I will just add the the place name. So here we'll say h2 tag, we'll say place dot place name, make sure it's printing. Yeah, then we'll add a class name. We'll make font bold, text large. Okay, and we'll keep on the right hand side. So what we can do for this div, we can make it as a flex, and then we'll give gap of 5. See, okay. So right now we don't have this much long information. Okay, so what we can also do for this particular div, right, let's try to make it grid column 2 and save it. So I think this is much better, right? So we have the day 1 plan and day 2 plan. I think that's pretty good. So here we'll also give gap of 5. Perfect. Oh, so here if you see for the S2 it considered as a 1. Okay, let's wrap this in 1D only. And now I'm not sure why it's not work correctly. So here instead of adding div, you have to add below this S2 tag. Okay, so that we can just use that one. So here we'll say grid column 2. Okay, and same over here. And when the screen size is smaller, we can only show grid column 1. Okay, also I think we forgot to give cap, so here now I will give cap of 5. I think that's much better. And even though if you did not mark this margin white, that's also fine. What else? Okay, so inside this place card item, we also added the gap, so I removed that gap, and now we are much look better. I think this is gap is correct. We'll remove this margin top. Let's see how it looks. Let's keep it for now. It's too much for back and forth. Okay, but for now it's good. Let's add an description about that one. Okay, so here we'll add a p tag and simply add place dot, and let's see what we call for the description. So it has a place details field, so that place detail field I'm going to use it here. Now if you see on the screen, we have this place detail information, but for this one I will make it class name text smaller, text is of gray color. Okay, perfect. So if you see, we have this place information. If user want to check, he can just read this out, and for all of them we have this place information. Next we want to show the, let's see what are the field are there. So we can show the time to travel. Okay, I think that's the only thing we need it. So here we'll say time to travel, place dot time to travel. Okay, and here we'll say class name text. We'll make text as it is. Let's see how it looks, and we'll just give margin top to 2. Okay, here I'm going to add the emoji icon. So here we'll say clock, and we have a bunch of different clock, but I will use this one. And save it. Now if you see, we have the beautiful clock information, and at the last we are going to add a button. Okay, so this button will show or you can use just an icon or navigate. You can say navigate, not navigate, but we can show some kind of location map icon. Let's go to this icon here, just search for the location. I think we have a bunch of different one. I will definitely use this one. Okay, so first copy this import statement, and then simply copy this component name and save it. Now if I go back over here, you will see this map icon. Okay, so once user click on it, it will jump it. I'm not sure. Let's add a size as a small. Okay, and I think that's good enough. I think that's good. Okay, now when user click on this one, as you know that we can just navigate it. It's up to you. If you don't want to add, you can just remove it, and on the click of it you can also navigate it. I think that will be better. And here I will add a hover effect. We'll scale the size to 105. We'll make transition all and save it. Now if I hover on with this, you will see the change. Along with this one, you can add on hover shadow effect. Okay, we'll make a cursor pointer. Now when I hover on with this, you will see the shadow as well. Okay, and same thing what we did right on the click of it, we'll just navigate it. So here I will use link tag 2, and then I will wrap our whole component inside this div, inside this link tag, For this too, if I go to this hotel, right, I will copy this complete statement along with the target, because we want the target on a new screen, right? And over here this need to be a place name, and then this need to be a place, and then place. I think we already also have the address, or we can just say place, that's also fine. We don't have address, so I will remove this address information and save it. Now if I click on this one, right, let's say Biltmore estate, and if I click on it, you will see I have option Biltmore estate. Just click on it because we have two different options, right? But let's see botanical garden, Asheville botanical garden, and now if you see, we got that one. Okay, so that's how you can show the plants. Now obviously you can just modify a little bit so that it will align carefully. So in this case, let's say I will add margin top to 5. Okay, so I think this is good now. So day 2 plan, and then we have day 1 plan. Okay, oh, I click it. Yeah, so that's how you can do it. Okay, and most important thing, if I decrease the screen size of this one, right, you will see now it is in one line, because we just show the grid as a column 1 when the screen size is smaller, but when I increase screen size, then we are showing 2 column. Okay, so I hope you understand this one. At the last, right, we have the footer section. Let's add that one as well, and let's add a default template. So over here, if I go to this index.jsx, right, here I will add a footer like this, and again to this footer I will pass the trip information, and under this one we'll simply write, so I will add a h2 tag. Here we'll write the who created by. Okay, so and with whom, so here we'll say yeah, here we'll just say email id, or just we can add created by Tube Guruji AI travel planner app. Okay, now if I save this one, for this div I'm going to add class name margin y to 7, and if I go over here, if you see, it's showing. Obviously we'll make text to be in the center, text center, and then we'll make text is of gray color and save it. Perfect. Okay, so that's just simple footer. You can add a lot of other things. Okay, but that's what I wanted to add. I don't want to make it so complicated. So guys, that's all for this section. I hope you understand this one. Next, what we are going to do, we are going to show the actual image of the place, because right now it's just a placeholder, right? But we want to show the actual image. So that's what we are going to see next. Now it's time to replace this image placeholder with an actual place image. So for that one, we are going to use a Google Place API along with Google Place Photo API. So let me walk through how it gonna work. So we have the place name, and we are going to pass this place name to this Google Place API. Then Google Place API will return a photo reference ID. Okay, it's a very big ID actually, and it will return Google reference ID. This photo reference ID, we are going to pass it to the Google Photo API URL. Okay, that one also I'm going to tell you, and then we are just going to display that one. Now this particular technique, or this particular tutorial showing the Google Place photo in a React application, you will not find anywhere on the YouTube or on the internet. Okay, so this is kind of exclusive one that I'm going to tell you here. So very first thing, if you go to this Google Place API text search, okay, and this is the document where you can refer it in order to fetch the place information. Okay, so first thing, if you see, this is the API endpoint that we are going to use it. So first thing, we'll go to this service folder, and inside this we are going to create a new file called global api.jsx. Inside this one we are going to write constant base URL. Okay, and this base URL is nothing but this URL. Okay, here if you see, we have this, let me put it like this. Here we have the places, and we want a text search text feature, right? Then we are going to make an HTTP API call. So for that one, we have to install this npm i Axios. Okay, so make sure to install this HTTP client library called Axios. So just command is npm i Axios, and then it will install for you. Next thing, we need to write a configuration. So here we'll say config. Inside the config, we'll provide the header. So we'll just say headers, and inside the header, first thing, we'll mention the content type. So the content type will be the application/JSON. It means it will return the JSON format response. Then we want to provide a Google API key, right? And this, all the information you will find it here. Okay, but we want to use it for React, right? With the help of HTTP client. So the format, the way we write the header is little bit different. Now if you see, I will try it like this, and here we need to provide the API key. So API key is nothing but from the import/meta.env, and then I will copy this environment variable key like this. Okay, next we want to provide the field mask. If you see, we have this field mask option. Okay, let me add it here, and then I will explain you what is this field mask. Okay, so this is the in the form of array. Now field mask is the option where you can get, or you can request what are the things you need it from the API, right? If you see, this is the required parameter called field mask, and obviously you can read this document if you want. But if you see, we need to pass the field mask, and for the text search, the basic, you can have this particular attribute that you can pass it in order to get it. Now in our case, you can get the display name, formatted address, or many other things, like we have place photo. This is very important. That is the thing that we need it. Okay, so I will copy this one, and then I will put it inside this in the form of string like this. Okay, along with this, I will also get the let's say display name. I will copy this one as well. Okay, and whatever the things you want, you can just add it inside this. Also, I want the place ID. Okay, so we'll get the place ID as well. You can get place name and a lot other things. Okay, and if you want, you can add more, but right now we'll keep short. Okay, the most important thing that we want is the place photo. Now once the configuration is ready, now let's create the API endpoint call. So here we'll say export constant get place details. So this will be the post request. So we'll pass the data, and we'll make Axios. Make sure to import this Axios, and then here we'll say post. Inside the post, we'll add the base URL, comma, the data, and the configuration. Okay, so in the configuration, obviously we have the header information, as we exported this particular method so that we can use it in our application. Now if I go back to our application, if you see, this is the info section, right? And here we have one image for the location which user want to schedule a trip, right? So let's go to this info section, and if you see right now in the image, we have just a simple placeholder. Now here I will create a new method called get place photo like this. Okay, and inside this one, we'll simply call constant. We'll say constant result is equal to await, or not necessary, but yeah, we can just write like this. Then here we can call this method called get place details. Okay, make sure to import it from this global API. Now here we need to pass the data. We'll pass it in a moment, and as this is a promise, we have to make the request. So here we get the response inside this response.data, because this is a Axios call. Now inside this data, so we'll define a data is equal to, we need to pass the text query. Okay, so here we just simply write text query, and whatever the query you want to pass, you can pass it. Say, let's say you want to pass this particular place name, so I will just copy this and we'll paste it here, like this. Okay, so place name we just pass to this text query, and now this data will pass it to this post request. Okay, and now let's make this call inside the use effect. So whenever this component get load, we'll make this API call. Oops. Oh god, I don't know what happened. Yeah, and then make this call. Now we want to make this call only when we have the trip information. So here I will add this condition. Okay, now let's say whether we are getting the information or not. So let's save it. Let's go back to our application, inside the inspect panel, inside the console, and if you see inside the info section, we got this places information. Now under the places, we have the display name, which is the North Carolina, and we have the ID, and under that we have the photos. Now we have the list of photo. Now the question is which one is to select, right? The thing is, right, the first one, if you see, we have this name reference, this is what we required, but here we will see the pixel height and width as well. If you want higher pixel width and height, you can select the last one, see. Okay, but right now we'll select like third or fourth. Okay, and that also have the good pixel size. Don't select the too higher pixel size, otherwise it will take some time to load as well. Okay, so right now what I will do, I will just use the second or third. But now in order to get this particular name, because that's what we need it, right, I will just write let's go over here, sorry, info section, and here we'll just write response dot data dot places of 0 dot photos, and we'll take, let's say, third element, and dot name. Okay, let's save it and let's see whether we are getting that information. And if you see, we got this place reference ID. Now the question is how to use this place reference ID in order to show the image on the screen, right? So for that one, if I go to this documentation, here you will see the place photo API reference. Let's click on it, and if you see, this is the way that you can do it. You have to provide that name, the media, and the key. If you have any parameter, you can just pass that one. But if I scroll down little bit, right, here this is the sample example that how you can make a request. Okay, so what I will do, I will copy this API URL, and I will go back to this one. Here we'll add constant photo reference URL is equal to, and just I will simply paste this one. Okay, now in under this name, right, we'll replace it with the actual name. So I will write it like this, okay, because we want to replace it. And in under this API key, because we are not passing any parameter, we'll pass the actual API key using import dot meta, we'll say meta dot env, and then the Google Place API key, like this. Okay, now once we have this one, here we'll say constant photo, or we'll say photo URL is equal to, and then we'll use this photo reference URL dot replace, and we want to replace this name. Okay, so here we'll say we want to replace with the name with the actual photo URL name. Okay, so this particular reference ID we can say. Now if I console this photo URL, let's see how it looks. So if I go back to our application, now if you see, we got the URL. If I click on this one, right, okay, so here it mentioning that we need to provide the maximum height and width. Okay, so over here, and after this media, right, here you can provide the maximum height in pixel, like let's say 600, and we also provide the maximum width pixel, which is again is equal to, let's say, 600. Okay, and our key. Let's save it and let's test this out. Now we got the new one, and boom, if you see, we got this beautiful photo. Right here you can let's say 1000, so it's be better, I think. I don't know, but if I click this now, you will get a bigger image with a great resolution. Okay, so that's how you can use generate this URL. Now the next thing, we need to store this photo URL in one state. So here we'll define one state. So we'll say photo URL comma set photo URL is equal to use state, and then we'll simply set the photo URL over here. Okay, and in place of this placeholder .jpg, now we'll replace this with the photo URL. Now if I go back to our application, and boom, if you see, now we have actual photo URL. I know this is not look good, but yeah, that's what we have. Okay, for this particular state. Next, obviously, we need to implement for the hotel and the place to visit. Now let's go for the hotel, and obviously we know this particular get place photo option, right? So we obviously want to reuse that one. So let's go to these hotels, and I'm just going to replace this with a new component called hotel card item. So here I will create a new component called hotel card item .jsx, add a default template. It will accept the hotel information, and obviously I will cut the code from here and I will paste it here. Okay, make sure to import this link tag, and I don't think so anything we need to import it, but now this particular component we need to add it over here. Okay, to this component we need to pass the hotel information. So let's save both the files and make sure nothing get broke. And if you see, if I refresh it, everything is still there. Okay, perfect. So let me format this first. Perfect, and save it. Now once we have this one, here we're gonna call this particular method. So from the info section, right? So same thing. First we need this photo reference URL. So you can put this photo reference URL inside the global API. Okay, so just simply we'll say export constant. So okay, let me export this over here. Okay, so that we can directly use it. So in order to put it here, make sure to import it now. Okay, so you don't need to write it everywhere. And same thing I'm going to do at this place. Now we'll copy all of this code as it is, and then I will paste it here. Okay, so make sure to import this use state, then also the use effect for sure. Here I will add the hotel information like this, and here as well you see hotel. Now for the text query we need to pass the hotel name. Okay, so I will copy this hotel name, and then I will simply pass to this text query. Okay, I will close this one. Then we'll get the information. Make sure to import this get place details, and also make sure to import this photo reference. Okay, and then we'll get the photo URL. Now we'll replace this image with the photo URL and save it. Now let's see whether we are getting not, and boom, if you see, we got this information. Okay, so currently if you see the image height, right, we need to mention a proper image height. So let's define that one. So here we'll say height of 300 pixel. Let's see how it looks. Let's make it 200 now. And here we'll make 180, and I will make width to be full, and we'll make object to be cover. Okay, perfect. Now for this one we don't have anything, but we will handle it later on. Okay, but for now, if you understand how we fetch this or replace this placeholder with an actual image of the uh, what we call place. Okay, next we are going to replace with this or we update this place to visit as well. So let's go back and let me close all of this tab first, then we'll go to the place card item. That's where we are going to implement, and I will just copy this line of code first because we need this, right? So I will paste it here. So over here, make sure to import this use state, then the use effect as well. Here we'll say place and place. Then we need to replace this with an actual place name. So I will replace this with actual place name. You can add more information over here to get an very exact response. Okay, then make sure to import this get place details. If you want to console, you can remove if you don't want it. Okay, then make sure to import this photo URL, and I think that's all. Now you can replace your placeholder image with an actual image. Now here, right, you can keep this placeholder image and you can write if the photo URL is there, then define photo URL, otherwise define this placeholder. Okay, that's a good idea in order to avoid the blank image. Let's save this one and let's see whether we get the information, and boom, if you see, we have that info, all the place images as well. And for this one, if you see, we don't have that place image, and now that's the reason it's showing the placeholder. Over here, right, we'll make this object to be cover so it will not stretch. See, now it's perfect. I don't know why it's showing like this, but we give the width and height, maybe, not sure. Okay, but anyway, same thing, I'm going to copy this one. Okay, so this is the good idea in order to avoid the blank image. Okay, I will paste it here. So here, let me copy only these things, and then I will also update in a hotel card item and save it. Now if I go back, boom, see, okay, now we have perfect information. Now if I go back to other, let's say this is, I think, New York one, I will copy this ID, okay, so that we can view the trip. And if you see right now, boom, it's rendering right now. Very initially, right, because it was not loaded, that's why it's showing the placeholder. Now we are getting an actual image of the each of the place, including the hotels, the place to visit, and many other things. And if you see the Center Park, Times Square, dinner at a food truck, wow, the Metropolitan Museum art, and many other things. Okay, so that's how, guys, you can show the image from the Google Place API and Google Place Photo API. This particular technique, I don't think so you will find it anywhere, so make sure to implement and show this use case to your friends and family. If you have any question until this point, let me know in the comment section. As you know that we already authenticated to our application, but as I say at the middle of this course, that we are going to update this header. Right now it's still showing this sign in button, right, and we need to update it so that whenever user is login, we're gonna show the user profile picture along with the option to see the user's trip. Okay, and obviously we are also giving option to log out from the application as well. So for that one, let's go back to our application. I will close all of this tab first, and then let's go to the header component. So under the component, we have the custom component where we have this header.jsx. Inside here, first thing, we are going to fetch the users details from the local storage. So here I will just say constant users is equal to local storage dot get item, and here is just a user. Inside the use effect, just to make sure that I will just check whether we receive the data or not. So over here, I will just console it as a user. I will just change this to a user and then save it. Now, if I go to the inspect panel and go to the console. Here you will see the details. Obviously we have to make sure it will convert it into a JSON. So here we'll just parse it to JSON. Many of the you have question why every time I console the details, right? This is very good practice when you write any code, because you will get to know whether you are getting the specific or output or not, okay, before moving forward. Otherwise it's very hard to debug your code, and it's very hard to find where is the issue, right? So it's better go step by step, make sure at every step you are receiving the proper input and outputs. Okay, now once you have the user information, if I save this one, now you will get inside the JSON format. Now if you see, we already have this picture, right? This picture or image URL we are going to use to show it instead of sign in button. Now this sign in button we only show if the user information is not there. So if you see, we can write if user is there, then we can show the image, or we can add a div. Let me add a div first. Okay, otherwise I will show the sign in button. Okay, so this is a ternary operator which we use. Let me format this. Perfect. Okay, and save it. Now you will see the sign in button is no longer there because we already sign in. Now inside the div I'm going to add two important buttons. One is for my trips, so here I will add a button. Here we'll say my trips. I'm going to add a variant as a outline, and I will add a class name. Here I will add a rounded full. Okay, and if you see, the my trip button is showing, and near to that one, so here I will add the image source, and I'm going to show the user profile image. Okay, so it's in the user dot picture. Okay, and save it. Now you will see that a user's profile image. Now obviously we are going to add some style to this one. So here we'll add a class name. We'll add a height of, let's say 50 pixel, and width is of 50 pixel. Let's see how it looks first. I think it's too big. Let's make it 35. Perfect. And then I will make this rounded. So here I will make rounded as a full. Okay, and save it. See, now we'll bring this in one line. So for this div I will add a class name. We'll make it flex. We'll make it item to be in the center, and we'll give gap of 5. See, like this. We'll make it 3 and save it. Okay, now when user click on this picture icon, right, we have to show a logout drop down button. So here I will just add a let's add a div only, or let's save it and just go to this chat CN UI first, and over here it has a one component called popover. Okay, so if you click on this one, you will see this kind of drop down is coming up, right? So we are going to use this popover component. Is quite easy to use it. So first you need to copy this command and install it. So and then you need to import the statements. Let's add it here, and this is the just a use case, so I will use it here. Okay, now over here if you see, this is the pop or trigger is the actual trigger to open this content. So in this case our trigger is image, so I will put this image and save it. Now if I go back to our application and click on this image, now you will see this pop up. Okay, now instead of this one, I will just add a logout text. So here we'll say logout. That's it. Okay, now if you see, we have this logout option. So obviously you can close it, you can open it, it's up to you. And if user click on this one, right, we want to log out from the users, right? We don't want to make it, and obviously once user log out, we'll make sure it will redirect it to the home page. So over here I will just add on click method, And to this on click method, I'm going to call two important methods. So one is Google logout from this React auth Google, so it will log out, and also we'll set the local storage. Okay, so here we'll set local storage dot, we'll just clear it, means we'll remove all the things from the local storage. And another is to redirect it to the home screen. So in order to redirect it, first you need to define the navigation. So here we'll say navigation is equal to use navigation, and then here simply we'll navigate to the home screen. Okay, so let's try this one. I think we have the error. Let's see what's the issue. So inside the console it's saying use navigation must be within the data router. Okay, so navigation is not working as expected because our header is not inside the router. So let's remove it for now. Okay, and we'll keep this much only. Only thing we can do is to refresh the screen. So here what we'll do, we'll just windows dot location dot reload. Okay, so we are just refreshing our screen, and automatically it will update the all the information. Right now, if you see, if I go here and click on logout, okay, make sure it's cursor pointer. So here I will add a class name, make cursor pointer. Okay, and if I click on this one, see it's logout, and boom, if you see now it's showing sign in button. Okay, now on the click of this sign in, we need to open that pop-up, or here instead of that one we basically just write get started. Okay, because and I'm not sure whether we just do get started or we will sign in here. Okay, let's do it sign in here, and we'll implement that particular pop-up. Okay, so here we'll do sign in, and from the create trip where we implemented this dialog, right, to sign in, I will just use that existing one. So I will use this dialog over here. Obviously we need to import this dialog component. So I will copy this and paste it here. Also, if you remember, we also have this open dialog state which will open the dialog for a sign in, right? So we'll use that one. Make sure to import this use state, and this set open dialog will open when this sign in button clicks. So here we'll say on click, and we'll make it as a true. Okay, most important thing to implement this login functionality. So let's go back, and here from this index we have this login functionality, right? So let's copy this one as it is and paste it here. Make sure to import this user login. Okay, and then on success we need to call this get user profile. That one also we already have implemented here. So we'll copy this and simply we'll paste it here. Okay, so make sure everything is there. Local storage, we set the open dialog, and we'll remove this on generate tree because we don't need it anymore over here. And once everything is done, we will simply reload the window. So here we'll say window dot location dot reload. Okay, and let's save this one. Let's test this out. I think we have one error. Let's go and check what's the issue. So inside the inspect panel in console we have FC Google is not defined, so that is the icon. Okay, so here if you see we have the FC Google icon. So we'll copy this and then we'll simply paste it here. Okay, perfect. Now if I go back to the home screen, so let's go to the home screen, and here if I click sign in button, if you see now we have this beautiful sign in option. Click on it, select the account, and once you select the account, right, and data is stored, I think we forgot to close the dialog. Okay, so I think we close the dialog as well. So once user is login, I'm not sure what the issue, but okay, so set open dialog false. I think that's correct. Make sure I think it's not get saved. So inside the network, maybe inside the application, make sure the user is not saved. Let's try it again. So we'll get error what the actual issue is. And inside the console we have some different error, I think. So I just realized that we did not imported this Axios. So now if you import it, then it will work fine. Let's save it and try it again. So I will go to the sign in with the Google, select the account, and then boom, if you see, now it's get selected. Now you can able to go to the my trips. Okay, now for the my trip we are going to create a new route. Okay, and let's create a new route first. So inside the source we'll add my trips, and inside this we'll add index.jsx. Add the default template. Here we'll rename to my trips, save it, and then inside the main.jsx make sure to add that one. So here we'll say path my trips, and the element will be my trips. Okay, and save it. Make sure it's slash and save. Now if I click on this my trip, we should navigate to the my trip screen. So inside this header, here we have the my trip. Now most important thing you need to understand, if you go to this main.js, our header is not inside this React router DOM. So obviously the React hook or React navigation will not work over here. Okay, then in order to fix and make it work, right, you just need to wrap this button inside this a anchor tag, and here you can add a hrefs, and here you can just give the path, in this case is my trips, and then wrap your button inside this. Okay, and let's save it. Now if I go back to our application and refresh this, and if I click this my trips, you will see it navigate to this slash my trip, and also you are getting this my trip page. Okay, so that's how you can add the anchor tag to the button so that even though if it's outside of the React router DOM, it will work. Let me talk about the tubegurji.com, where you will get my exclusive courses and the source code just under $7. Here not only that, but even you can search all the exclusive source code. Even you can track each courses chapter by chapter. Okay, you can just get the access of source code, you can see the demo, or you can also watch on YouTube. But if you want to learn by chapter, you can use this tubegurji.com, and you can track your progress through your dashboard. Now if you want to join this membership, you will get it under $7, and then you will get all the source code for free. So guys, just join now this tubegurji.com, and this is a pro membership for the exclusive for my subscribers. Now we are going to implement the my trip section. So once you log into account and you created the trip, right, whatever the trips you created previously, that all the trips you can see under your my trip section, and anytime you can visit to that trip. So let's go back and let's build it. And if you see on this mockup as well, this is a simple basic page where you can just fetch all the your trip and then show that information. So under this my trip, we already have the page created, right? First and very important thing we need to is to fetch all the trips which belong to the users, right? So here we'll say constant get user trips, like this. Okay, first thing we need to get the user information using this local storage dot get item user, and then save it. Now this get user trip, this method we need to call inside the use effect. So whenever this component get load, this get user trip will get called. Okay, now here we need to check if user is not there. Okay, then we should redirect user to the landing page. So here we'll use constant navigation is equal to use navigation, and simply we'll navigate to the home page and save it. Okay, and we'll return empty. Otherwise we will add our logic. Now in order to get all these trips which is belong to that user's email only, Okay, so it's quite simple. Here you just search get all docs Firebase, okay, something like this, and you will get the documentation from the Firebase, and it will help us to understand how to get all the data. And if you see, these are read data, under that we have get data, and obviously we already have this all the initialization, so you don't need to worry about that. But in this case, you need to get all the documents. So here, if you see, we have the option called get all document in the collection, right? This is the way that you can get it, but in this case we need to add a condition to fetch only document which is belong to that user, right? So here you have option to get a multiple document from the collection, and you need to add a query like this. Okay, so let's do it one by one. So here we'll say constant q is equal to query. Inside this you need to provide the collection, if you see, okay, and then the db reference. So here we'll say collection from the Firestore, then db reference, comma, and then you need to provide the collection name. So in this case is AI trips. Okay, then you need to add a where condition. Inside that you need to add your condition. So I will say user email is equal to, sorry, in the string format, is equal to if you see, I'm getting this suggestion, and then you need to provide the user email. So here we'll say user dot email, because we are already fetching the user information from the local storage. Now your query is ready. Next you need to get the document and pass this query reference. So I will just copy all of this code, and then I will paste it here. So here we are using await, so let's make this as a async, and then import this get docs. Okay, I think yeah, where is already there. Make sure everything is imported, and then here you will get the console once we fetch the document. Okay, let's try it, and let's see whether we are getting the data inside the console. So if I save this one and go back to our application, so right now if you see, I'm on my trip page. If I go to the console, so we have some error. Okay, so the issue is over here is saying invalid who can only call inside the body of the function. So by mistakenly we added this hook inside this method. Okay, so I will just paste it here, and if I save this one, refresh the screen, and now we have another error. The function where call is invalid data, unsupported field, value undefined. So over here if you see, we have the user email, and this is the user dot email. Make sure it's correct. So if you see over here, we have the email, right? Okay, so obviously we need to convert this string because we are fetching from the local storage, so we have to make sure it is in the JSON format first. Okay, and then only you can add it. Now if I refresh it, still we have the error and unsupported field. Okay, so let's try to log in. I think I get log out somehow. So I will select the account, and I will refresh the screen. So here need to be a pass, so that's what another mistake we made it. So it's supposed to be, we need to pass it into JSON, not a string view file. And now if I refresh the screen, wow, now we got the data. Okay, and inside data, if you see, the all the information which will belong to my email only, that is fetching. Okay, so that's what we wanted. Now we need to save it in one state. So here we'll say constant user trips, comma, set user trips is equal to use state. Initially make sure it is empty, and over here we set the user trips using this previous value, because we want to add the previous value along with the new value. So previous value, so this is a spread operator, and then we need to add a new value which is doc dot data. Okay, and whenever you are adding new value, make sure the set user trip is empty every time. So every time when you call this method, it will get the only latest one. Here I will say use to get all user trips. I think we are good. Here I will remove this one. Okay, and save it. Now here I will add a h2 tag, and we'll say my trips, add a class name. Here I will add a padding of 10, padding x to 20, when screen size is medium. Then on large we'll add padding X to, let's add 36, and I will just copy the existing one from this create trip. So if you see over here as well, we have this condition, right? I will copy everything as it is, so that will be helpful. So it will maintain the ratio and everything similar, and save. Now if I go back to our application, the my trip is showing on the screen, right? Obviously I will add some class name, will add font bold text 3XL and save it. Perfect. Now under this one we need to show the user trips. So for that one, first let's add a div. Inside this we'll iterate this user trip dot map. Here we'll say trip comma index, the arrow function, and then here I'm going to create a new component under this my trip. So I will create a components folder, and inside this I will add user trip card item dot JSX, add the default template, and let's import this component over here, user trip card item. Now to this component I'm going to provide the trip information like this. Okay, and let's accept it here as a trip. Okay, now over here first we need to show the image. Let's add a placeholder for now, and then we'll replace with the actual image. So here we'll say placeholder.jpg and save it. Now if I go back, you will see the three trips, and that's the reason it's showing the placeholder 3 times. Okay, but we need to add it grid. So here we'll say grid column 2 when the screen size is smaller, and when it's medium we'll add a grid column 3, something like this. Perfect. Also for this I will add a class name. We'll make object cover, then rounded corner to XL, and save it. Also for this grid I will, oh so my bad, actually we need to add this for the image, not here. And here before that we'll add a gap of 5. Let's go to the user trip, and for this image we need to make object cover rounded XL and save it. Perfect. Here I will give some margin from the top. So for this grid we'll add margin top to 10, something like this. Perfect. Okay, next we need to add some information below that. So inside this user trip card we'll add a div. Inside this we'll add h2 tag, and we'll get the information, like we'll say, let's go over here and we'll add the location name, which is this. In this case, for example, let's say you have to access it using user selection dot location dot label. So we'll say trip dot user selection dot location dot label, and if I save this one you will see the location name. Let's give some style. So I will add class name font bold text large. Perfect. After this, here we'll say some basic information, right? How many people are going and all of these things. So I will just write something like this. Let's say here we'll just add, let's say 2 days trip with luxury budget. Okay, so obviously this information we already have, we'll replace it. So here I will add a trip dot user selection dot number of days. Okay, and for this budget as well I will add trip dot user selection dot it's a budget, right? So budget, and save it. Now if you see 2-day trip with the moderate budget, 2-day trip with the cheap budget, and you can add the traveler information as well, it's up to you. Okay, and here I will add a class name, text, smaller text is of gray 500, something like this, see. Okay, so that's how you can add your trip information. Now it's time to replace with this image with the actual image. And if you remember, for example, if you go to this view trip and in any of this component, right, let's say let's say hotel card item, and we'll use this get place photo method. So I will copy everything as it is and I will paste it here. So obviously instead of trip, hotel, we'll add a trip if trip information is there. Okay, or let's undo this one and I will copy exact from the info section. Okay, because that's quite matching with everything. So I will copy this as it is, so you don't need to replace anything, everything is here, and paste it here. Okay, now if you see, we have this photo URL, you have the trip, everything. From the text query you will pass this label information, and then you will get the photo reference, and then you can just replace this URL over here. So here we'll say if photo URL is there, then add the photo URL, otherwise show the placeholder.jpg, or make sure to import this use state, then use effect which is already there, then get place details, that is important, make sure to import it. And I think that's all. Let's save it, and if I refresh this screen, okay, so we got redundant data. Okay, we'll fix that one. So here we need to add photo reference URL as well. So okay, so we have to make sure to import this one and save it, and boom, if you see, we got the data. This is the redundant data is coming because inside our view trip. Okay, let's go to this view trip, and here we have to make sure to clean everything. Perfect. And if you see, now it's clean everything, and now you are getting the exact data what you are looking for. Next, what we have to do, on the click of this one, we should navigate to the view trip page. Okay, so let's go to this user trip card item. Here I'm going to wrap let's wrap this div inside this link tag. Here you provide the true, and make sure to wrap everything inside this link. Then inside this two, we need to provide the route. Okay, if you remember, let me open this localhost 1573 / view trip, and then if you see, that's the ID, right? If I enter this one, you will get the information. So same thing we have to implement over here. So here we'll say /view trip / and then the ID. So obviously this ID we already have inside our data, right? And we call it as ID. So just you can access it using trip.id, and that's all. If I save this one and go back to our application, refresh it, now on the click of this one, if you see, it's jumped to that particular page. If I open this one, see, it jumped to that particular page. Okay, so that's how it is going to work. And obviously here I can add hover effect. So here you can say hover, let's scale size to 105, transition all, and here also you can add the on hover shadow effect. So if I hover on this one, we don't want shadow is not look good, I will remove it. Perfect. Okay, and now one more last important thing we need to do over here is to show the skeleton effect. Right now if you see, when you refresh it, right, it's showing empty until unless the data is getting loaded, right? So in order to fix this, you can just add a condition. Here you can say if user trip dot length is greater than 0, then show this user trip, otherwise show the skeleton effect. And I'm going to add the skeleton effect here. Okay, here we say map item comma index arrow function, and here we'll add a div. Okay, here make sure to add a key as an index and key as an index, And now here we'll give some class name. Here we'll say height of, let's say, 300 pixel, width full, background slate 200, and animate pulse, and border radius or just rounded border Excel. Now we have to make sure that it will match with this information, say like this. Okay, obviously this is too much, so we'll change this to 50. If I refresh it, you will see this skeleton effect. How cool, right? So same thing we have to implement. Here if I go to this card trip item and image, okay, so here we'll give the dedicated image height. So here let's say 250 pixel. Okay, perfect. Let's make it 220. Yeah, I think this is much better. And same height I'm going to add it over here. So here we say 220 pixel. See, okay, perfect. So same thing you can add it for all other trip information. Okay, and I think we can do one more thing here. We can have option to add more trip. Okay, that will be good option. So if I go to this header, right, and over here we have the my trip. Along with that one, I will add another option, and we can call it as a plus add create trip, something like this. Here obviously I will change this to create trip. Perfect. Now we have two buttons, right? One is for create trip, it will jump to the create trip information. My trip will jump to the my trip information. Okay, so that's how, guys, it will work. I hope you understand this complete course, and if you have any question, any doubt, let me know in the comment section. And that's all. And obviously next thing we are going to do is to deploy this application on a server so that you can share this with your friends and family. Now it's time to deploy our application on a cloud. So first thing, if you remember, we have some incomplete landing page. So just I added this landing.png file, which is the screenshot of the our view trip page, and I put it inside this mockup. And then here we'll just add the image source. Here we'll say landing.png, and over here I will give a minus margin top to 20, or let's say 20. Oh sorry, this need to be in class name. Let us add a class name. We'll say minus margin top to 20 and save it. Now if I go back to our application, if you see how beautiful our landing page looking by just adding this particular image. Okay, perfect. Now let's go back to our application, and now we have to deploy this application on a Vercel. So if you don't know or did not heard about the Vercel is a free platform or hosting platform for the React or Next.js application. Okay, and it's free to use as well. Before that, let's go to this github.com, and we are going to push our code to the GitHub, and then we'll connect this GitHub to the Vercel. So whenever you make some changes to your project or to your code and push your code to the GitHub then automatically deploy your application whenever you make a code. Okay, so first thing, let's create a new repo, and here I will say AI trip planner web. Okay, and then you can make public private. I will keep this private, and then click on create repository. Here copy this remote origin, and then go back to your application. First thing, we need to initialize this git. So just type git init. Okay, then we'll add the remote origin. Okay, that it means we are just connecting our application to this particular GitHub repo. Okay, then just add git add space dot, so it will add all these file changes, and then we have to commit these changes with some message. So here we'll say initial commit. You can give any message. Okay, and the last, as we are pushing this first time, you have to push with this particular command. Okay, so we'll telling the user, okay, they push this code to the main branch kind of thing. Okay, and if you see, our code is getting pushed, and boom. Now if I go back and refresh this page, you will see your code is ready, and just now we push this one. Okay, so this is the first part that we push our code to the GitHub. Now second part, let's go to this vercel.com. Okay, and if you don't have an account, create a new account. Then once you land on this dashboard, here you have option to add a new project. Okay, now over here you have to connect your repo with your GitHub repository. Okay, so just connect it, and then you will see your project name over here. So if you see, just now we push this code, okay, and that's the reason it's showing like this. And simply click import. Now once you import this one, you can give any project name you want. If you see, it automatically detect your framework, so obviously we were using Vite, so it came as a Vite. Now most important part here, we need to add the environment variable. Okay, so if I go back to our application, and over here if you see, we have this .env.local file. Copy this all environment keys and then simply paste it here. Okay, as soon as paste, it automatically add a key and along with their value, and then simply click deploy. Now within a few seconds, it will deploy your application on a cloud. First it will build your files, then it will install all the dependency, and then it will deploy your application. So we'll wait, and boom, if you see, our application is get deployed, and here you will see the preview as well. If you click on it, it will jump to that particular domain which is assigned by Vercel on this one, right? And it's saying AI trip planner web.vercel.app, and here you will see a working example. How cool it is, right? Not only that, but you can go to this dashboard, and over here you have option to check your deployment. You can go to the setting. From your setting, you have option to update your domain, or you can even connect your domain as well. Also in environment variable, later on also you can update or edit your environment variable. Okay, now if I try to click sign in over here, and let's say sign in with Google, here you will see the access is blocked for this application, because if you remember, when we set up the cloud, right, we added our localhost as our basic domain, right? So the question is how to fix this issue. So let's go to this Google Cloud and go to this credential, right, where we have this authorization. Let me scroll down. Authentication API key, right? Go to this API key and make sure to add your newly generated domain. It means this domain. Okay, so copy this domain, go to your project, and just click add this URI. Same thing, you have to update it inside this authorized redirect URL. So I will paste it here and then click save. Now it will take 5 minutes as per their recommendation to reflect the changes over here. So we'll wait a couple of minutes, and then let's try it. Now if I go to the sign in and click on sign in with Google, and boom, now you are able to see all the accounts which you can able to log in. So let's click on this account, and immediately you will see is it's showing your profile image along with the my trips and everything. Now if I go to this my trips, so right now I'm not sure why it's not working, but let's go to this create trip. Okay, so if you see, we are getting not found error, right? The routing is not working on the deployment part. Now to fix this one, just search on Vercel JSON configuration. Okay, and you will see this configuration project with this Vercel JSON. This is very important when you are using React Router DOM. Now if you scroll down, and here you will see this option called rewrites. Okay, this will rewrite your routes, and it will redirect you to the specific path. If you see, this is the just example, okay, which you can use it. So copy this one, okay, and go to your project. Here inside the root directory, make sure to create a vercel.json file and paste your code. Now over here we have to make some small changes. Let me bring this down first, and for the source we are going to just update it like /.start, okay, for all the matching routes, and here we'll just put /, and that's it. Let's save it, and now let's push these changes. So here I will clear it. I will add git add, then we'll say git commit update Vercel JSON file, and then simply push your code. Okay, now if you see, your code is pushed. Now as soon as the code is pushed to the GitHub, you don't need to deploy it again. Vercel will take care of automatic deployment. Okay, and if you see, if I go to this project, you will see now the new changes, and this is a commit message which we provide, right? Is currently getting built. So you, as soon as you pushed anything to the GitHub, right, after your first connection with the Vercel, it automatically deploy your code, so you don't need to worry about every time. And now if you see, our code is now deployed. Now if I open this website, okay, and if I go to this my trip, for example, and boom, now if you see, the my trip route is working as expected. Same thing, if I go to this create trip, now you can able to create the trip, and everything is working as expected now. Okay, so that's how guys you can deploy your React application on Vercel. So that's all for this particular course. I hope you enjoy this AI trip planner with the help of React. If you have any question, let me know in the comment section. If you are new on this channel and you learn a lot, please subscribe to our channel, press like button, and if you want update from me, press notification bell icon so you will not miss any update, and keep smiling, keep coding.